Juicy.
Yeah. Appropriations, juiciest. You know,
Finance.
Finance, defense,
oil, defense,
Nigeria
NDDC.
Delta Development Committee.
Juiciest.
Oh, you are getting money. But allegedly.
Hello, boys and girls.
Hello, all.
The bounce is what's today.
Bounce is tired of being in Nigeria.
Yeah, I can't lie. This country is cooked. I've been
woke
saying
up
that
this
throughout the weekend.
morning.
The country is cooked.
It was just small things, so it's been really, really, really hot recently. Like
Also, the grid collapsed.
when a heat wave, so the grid is collapsing.
Disturbance.
Okay,
Yeah,
then
it's
collapse.
a slight
Just having
disturbance.
coughs. Fair enough.
Yeah.
And then my AC is dripping, my bathroom is leaking. Just like, this is such a great time.
Tracks.
It's just a lovely time to be a young woman trying to make your way in the world in Nigeria. It's just so, so great. I've never been happier, genuinely. You know, it's just so lovely.
And well, today we have a guest.
We
You
do
guys
have a
seen her
guest.
before. I'm very sure. But we have a guest. Why don't you introduce yourself?
I'm shy.
Okay.
I'm joking. Hi, guys. My name is Adesuwa Giwa Osagie. I am an anchor and correspondent on Arise News, and I host Untold Stories with Adesuwa and now Bad Natives podcast.
Well done.
Well done on the podcast. I just saw
Is
that.
a long-time friend.
Yes.
Long time. I don't even know where I saw her from.
Fun fact. Susie and I went to not one, but two different schools.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which one? Which?
Went to Grange in this
Yeah,
country
yeah.
and
And
Seven
Seven
Oaks.
Oaks.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
And Dara used to carry me to her house as +1 from like the age of 4.
Oh, fair
Yeah.
enough.
Yeah. So
Fair enough.
we go way back.
Yeah. And she's kind of my neighbor. Well, not really, but if they have a party in their house, I can hear it from my room.
Fair.
I feel like we're definitely neighbors.
No, you guys are neighbors in a
We're
sense.
walking distance.
Yeah, it's actually
neighbors.
very
It's not
short.
even walking distance, like a skip.
Yeah.
A couple of skips.
It's
yeah.
brief.
Yeah, there.
Do you know, I tried to describe this to someone because I was like, if I enter my car and I drive out, my seatbelt starts ringing at fake Emi's gates.
It's actually
Because it's very close. The
it's
car does not
extremely-
even know we're moving.
It's
It does not know we're
extremely
moving.
brief. It's
Yeah.
extremely brief.
Interesting. Anyway,
So,
we asked Adesuwa to be here because she knows things, which is very important. No, genuinely, she knows things. Like, we had other plans. We're going to do the whole Women's Month thing, right? First of all, Fekemi and I have very interesting thoughts around the concept of Women's Month. We love the idea of celebrating women. Execution, poor, however.
Yeah, let me tell you what I hate the most. The hand gestures are crazy.
Yeah, it feels like we've been doing gang signs.
I'm actually so sorry.
For like the last decade.
I actually want, who is in charge of that?
I'm telling you that the person used to be a former crip or something.
I think like also people just forget International Women's Day is supposed to be a protest.
Yeah.
It's actually not supposed to be a celebration. It's supposed
You're
to be a
supposed
protest.
to be angry.
It started with like the leftist, I believe, Bolshevik movement in Soviet Union. Women being like, we have seen that there's economic oppression. We have seen that there's nationalism and like, you know, tribal oppression. And now we have also seen that there's woman oppression. And we need to challenge that in protest. And I can't remember her name, but it started as a protest. It's not supposed to be a celebration of successful women, of doing photo shoots.
Of who just wear Valentino pump, sit down, do panel.
It's actually supposed to be a protest. But along the line, like everything else, it's been corrupted because it's also been commercialized right now. It's just, like, imagine something that started as a communist, like, woman protest being a corporate celebration, good day for good optics. It's lost its way.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah, and it's also really bizarre the lengths, like, especially companies will go to form that they are doing Women's Month. Come to find out, there's like 5 women in your organization. What is going on?
And with little room for career growth or progress, a lot of worry about making very personal decisions because of how they affect your career, because your company doesn't actually encourage you to live a full life in that way. By that I mean people are worried about getting married or having children or taking time out to do a course, or all of that stuff has such a negative impact on your career.
I started laughing because I just remembered I went for an International Women's Day first hour. They were doing he for she awards.
Stop now.
He's a he for she.
Also last year, that he for she, I actually thought, I just said, we're shameless people.
No, it's not even just a shameless people, but I think there's something about, sorry to go off tangent, I'll go back to what I was saying. But I do think when, there's some feminist talking points that have become very commonplace, but there's not a lot of deep, actual, sitting down to think about what things genuinely mean. So there's a lot of talk about how it's really important that we carry men along and we think of men. And I find it so interesting that even within talking about how women can move forward, there's a worry about men. There's just I do think that it almost feels or seems like women are nurtured to have a thought for men. It's just...
But that's how it is.
But what I mean is even within feminist ideals, even when you're trying to espouse or think about how sacred women's spaces are supposed to be and getting militant about what our rights are and being very forward or obnoxious or loud about what our needs are, what our rights are moving us forward. One of the top things is, but how do we carry men along? How do we remain non-threatening to men? And I'm like, but even within a conversation between women, that is something that we are constantly talking and thinking about.
So I think about that in two ways. Because I also think that in terms of carrying men along, it is an organizational strategy rather than... It's not, I don't think it's a feminist ideal. I think culturally we might have made it a feminist ideal, right? It's just but I think when it comes to, because a lot of times now I've been talking to a lot of people who are angry, particularly recently with everything that's going on. And I am always because I studied history, I understand the organization that went into it.
Yeah.
Right? Anytime people say, oh, Rosa Parks wasn't the first person to sit on the bus. Yes, she wasn't. They planned for her to sit on the bus. They planned for it to be her because she was married, because she came from a good home, because her dad was militant and she was militant. She was an organizer. She was fair-skinned. They planned it for it to be her so that she would be above reproach in some ways, right? Unimpeachable character.
The story around her would.
But when Covette, I believe her name was Covette or Claudette or something,
the 15-year-old,
who was
she was a single mother, teenage mother.
When she did it, right, they were like, okay, this makes sense for us to organize around this, but she's not the person to organize around this because it would not even...
It won't move the needle.
Yeah. And so I think when it comes to how do we move men along, it's more...
Because of the organization. No, what I mean, I agree and I understand because it's important. I'm not saying that isn't important. But what I mean is that when you are now using, for instance, International Women's Day events, first of all, like you said, this has already become a very capitalist, consumer-based ideal. Why is it then we're championing a he for she? Why is it that day? So your office has not decided that we're going to take a day to even have extra activities for the girls. But do you know what we're going to do? We're going to spend an hour having
recognizing the men in the middle of the day. It's just...
And we're going to reward men who are already sort of like the bosses.
Yeah.
We're going to clap for them for some initiatives that they're doing to help women because they're just being so kind.
That's the thing, they don't even do anything. It's
so
all
I don't know.
eye service. And this year, all the panels, I said, I'm sorry. There's actually nothing I want to discuss this year about the women.
Sha, please, the one I want for next year, because I got the panel invitation, but I did not get the free food. I was seeing people share free food.
I can't lie. I got things.
I ate their food.
I got food and I got gifts and I got
food. I got one hamper. I said it's good.
I got cake.
I don't mind the hamper.
Women represent love. I love so much that anything concerning pantsuits, panel, I said, listen.
Yeah. It's just been...
This year, I actually don't have anything to discuss. I don't believe any of you.
Yeah. I think... So I was saying about how we have just been going round and round. So Fake and I are just like, normal stuff. We should do this and we should do that. And the ladies and the women and the this and the that. But it started to feel, first of all, it started to feel like a farce.
Yeah.
Because it's not like we already cared. That's our shit. That's what we do
it's
already.
Normal.
It's normal,
so
normal for
like,
us.
Wait, why are we
so
not doing
the first thing is
dance?
This extra push and force and not being true to the core of who you are and what your ideals are, but doing it for doing sake. And there's a time and place for that, but it just felt so. We already were kind of like, why are we? What are we? Okay, which women will we bring? This one is doing this in the career.
We now started doing what they do on Women's Day. When you want to pick a panel, this person is moving in the finance field. This person. I just thought that we're not inviting any of them.
No,
why? Because all the things that really matter, all the things that are going on now. Where are they? Nowhere.
Yeah, it's just
then you now come here and do champion of women, whereas really you're not really about it.
Yeah,
so
I think it just gave me. So basically, for our non-Nigerian listeners, the last 2 weeks have been very interesting, to say the least, and interesting in brackets negative, not positive. It has been actually quite
bad,
hellish to watch. So because Adesuwa is a journalist and she's a lot more eloquent than Fake Man, I'm going to allow her give us a rundown.
And also because all of us reposted everything that she posted on the matter. To be sincere. I was like, look, there's nobody else that speaks on it because all of us have our information from the same place.
Yeah, so Adesuwa is going to give like the broad strokes.
Okay, but talking about what happened in the Senate.
Yeah, in the Senate, Nigerian House of
Okay.
Senate.
So I am a National Assembly correspondent. I'm supposed to focus mostly on House of Representatives, but sometimes I run over to the Red Chamber when interesting things are happening. One of these interesting things that happened in the last couple of weeks is with Senator Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan. She's a senator representing Kogi Central. She's a first-time senator, and she went through trials and tribulations to reach the Senate. The roads to her constituents were dug up. She's been threatened with violence. She was in a very horrific car accident that left her scarred.
Yeah, she's been attacked. Like, she literally went through everything to win the election.
And then she gets to the Senate, and interesting things happen. There were whispers before she even came, but we'll talk about that later. But she gets to the Senate, and she's beautiful, she's young, and she comes 6 months.
She's not beautiful, she's extremely beautiful. There's a difference.
And they hate, look, so it's very important to note because there's a way you are beautiful in this
context,
in this setting.
that is far from an advantage, yes.
And she comes 6 months after everyone else, which is also important to understand the dynamics of her relationships with her co-senators. She comes 6 months after everyone else, and she comes to the Senate because she has to go to court because her election was not given to her at that point in time. She goes to court, the court certifies she won. She comes 6 months later, and she's sworn in. And on the first day, she raises a point, and there's already grumblings.
Yeah.
First day, she's already talking. Somebody that has been coming here for like 12 years. She already knows what she's coming here for. She already has a motion to move about Ajakuta Steel Mill. She was an activist on this matter before she even...
For over a decade, I think, she's been talking about this. Yeah.
So she came prepared, and she knew what she was coming there to do. But something that set it all off, I think, is that she was made the chairman of the Local Content Committee.
What does that mean? Sorry.
Local Content Committee has a lot to do with like oil and gas. Local content, essentially, we have laws in Nigeria that say when international companies come, whether it's mostly in the oil and gas sector, but they have to have local content, like hire Nigerians for certain roles and things like that.
Of what they have to do, even raw materials, all of those things.
It is considered a juicy committee. Now, some senators will say there's no such thing as juicy, they're juicy.
They are. They pick the committees that are big.
Yes.
Now, they don't pick. The Senate president picks. And I think this is very important. Senators don't pick
where they end up.
No, the Senate president has that power.
But they lobby.
But they lobby. And so people lobby for these juicy appropriations, juiciest.
Finance.
Finance, defense,
oil, defense,
Niger Delta Development Committee.
Juiciest.
Oh, you are getting money. But allegedly.
Please, just as a blanket, everything here is alleged.
Everything is alleged.
Please. Anything you hear, just allegedly. Even me now, what I did this weekend, allegedly.
Now, allegedly, people were angry. This small girl, they're giving a local content. First time, it's not done. I heard a senator say, allegedly, it's not done, no. She's even opposition, it's not done. Why is he doing it for her? Is she?
It's always that.
Is she? Started from,
and all of you can fill in the gaps of that.
She started from there. And I said, I even learned her husband is maybe his friend. But you know Akpabio. I said, I don't know Akpabio. Distinguish me more Akpabio.
I do not.
I don't know.
I'm not familiar with
I'm not familiar. But rumbling started a long time ago and people are upset. She's opposition. She's PDP. She came 6 months later. They removed somebody to make her local content. Me that have been here, I was even in House of Reps before I got to the Senate. Well, for me, local content. They were give that yellow girl from cooking. There were rumblings. Now, these rumblings is why a senator a senator stood up and said that, it's even me, Senator, carrying me from cooking.
Yeah, I saw that video that it was him that lobbied
the Senate president,
and he wants to humbly apologize.
I wonder why he lobbied for her to get local content.
But why? Thank you. That's why I said. So why didn't you push yourself forward?
It's so interesting.
He now said, he told Fabio that it has to come back to Kogi. And she's the one. I said, okay, why didn't you nominate yourself?
So all this is, I'm just giving background into how she was perceived, and she was not very popular from the jump.
Yeah.
I think also she might not have been aware how the privileges she was receiving or the preferential treatment that people were perceiving would make her unpopular with her cohorts, but it's not also something that, at least to me, looked like she was lobbying for. It looked like the Senate president was acting out of the kindness of his heart. Why was it?
Benevolent.
Just out of the kindness of his heart. And then things changed. And I had heard things changed a while ago. Before she was removed as local content committee, there were rumblings that she's in trouble with that Babio, allegedly. The question now became, what changed?
Why?
What happened? Alomo, I don't know. I've not heard. But they say, she was removed as the local content committee chairman at the beginning of plenary this year.
Okay.
Did they give a reason?
When was
they're
that?
Doing reshuffle. January.
Around January.
I want to say it's around January. But it could have been February because they went on like a long break. And then when they came back, they're doing the tax reform bill. Sorry, they were doing budgets. So plenary didn't sit for a while. But at the beginning of like the session this year, after all the back and forth, a few people were shuffled.
Yeah.
And I had spoken about it then because she was not the only person.
Yeah.
Another person, importantly, is Senator Abdul Nengi, who was the only other person who has been suspended. He was suspended last year because he raised issues about the budget.
Yeah.
And he said the numbers don't add up. And they started shouting. And I probably said, is this suspended? Hey, on it. The A's have it. Bah. By the way, important. I think I need to say this.
Yeah.
The Senate has technology for voting.
But they insist on doing...
They insist on voice calls. Why? We need to ask them that question. They don't want to be helped. They don't want their names to show that I voted this or I did not vote this. They just want to shout.
So is it...
Because in other countries, you can see people's...
Is it a biometric thing?
No, I think they have button. They have button on their desk.
So is also, just for context, everybody sees like permanently allocated.
No. Okay, that's where the issue begins.
Yeah.
Sorry. So now the issue at hand, what happened last 2 weeks? I think it was February 25th or something. Senator Natasha comes into chambers and her seat has been moved. And her seat has been moved because Senator Ned Nwoko and another senator have left the PDP, and I don't know where the other one was from, and they've joined the APC, which is the ruling party. There has been a lot of defections. The Labour Party in House of Representatives, which is where I am, I think they might have lost a third of their reps to the APC by now. They've lost, so a lot of people are cross-carpeting, moving to the ruling party. So he moves to the ruling party, so he has to be moved to sit with the ruling party. Because seating works like this in the Senate. You sit, the leadership sits in front.
Okay.
The majority leader, minority leader, chief whip,
deputy chief whip.
All of those ones. They sit in front. Then after that, you sit by party according to your seniority.
Right.
So you have
in the Senate.
So first, if you've been in Senate for more than one term, then for the guys who just are coming for the first time, if you're in the House of Reps before you came to Senate,
you sit before people that are
just new. Now you have to consider this. Senator Natasha, according to just how they do all these things, she's
a baby senator.
She's actually at the back. She came 6 months after everybody else. She's at the back. So they now say, okay, Senator Ned Nwoko has moved to APC. We need to change seats. So they want to change her seat. But they didn't inform her. And according to her, this has been there's a culture of what she's experiencing is degrading treatment, bullying, change my seat without telling me, you remove me from
you remove her from the committee. Yeah.
You don't take my motions, you don't take my bills, I'm getting blocked on this, I'm getting blocked on that. When they move her seat, there are 4 Senate rules that are very important here because everybody who has come from the Senate has only quoted the first 2 important ones. The first one is that you can only speak from your seat.
Okay.
And the second one is that the Senate president may change the seats from time to time.
Right.
At will.
Yeah. He doesn't tell anybody.
There are a lot of powers given to the Senate president, right? He may change the seats from at will. But the other 2, which is what she was stressing, is that at a point where a senator speaks on privileges, like raises a point on privileges, the Senate president has to stop proceedings and listen to that point. According to the rules, you're supposed to make everything pause and listen to that point on privilege, and then you can go back to whatever the issue was. When her seat was changed and they were telling her to move, she kept trying to speak on privileges. And they were like, you can't speak on privileges because you're not on your seat. But she's trying to speak on privileges
because her seat
on the matter of her seat.
Yeah.
So that's why people are like, she acted wrong in that outburst. They call it an outburst. And I think...
Of course they call it an outburst.
Yes. And I think I understand the staunch, like, literal reading of this is that
people are acting like she was throwing a fit, but then when you look at the whole context, and that was probably the straw that broke the camel's back in her own mind, that it's been one thing after the other. And now she's trying to enforce one rule, and all of you are acting like you don't know that she's allowed to speak on privileges.
So after this outburst, they asked her to leave the chamber. There was a lot going on. And I also want to importantly note that during this situation, the minority leader is one of the people who came to meet her. And she said, I believe she said that she didn't trust him with that he has never protected her interest in the Senate because he's a PDP senator.
Yeah.
And this is the same senator who stood up when they were voting on her suspension and said she's like a recalcitrant child that sometimes you beat
and sometimes you
when
draw
they
them close.
misbehave. So so it also gives an insight into how it works, like who you trust, who has protected your interests so far.
The real house of cards.
It's a real house of cards situation, and everyone has their personal interest, and this can talk about Iriti Kingbe later. But after this happened, you know what? She was thrown out, and they were already. Then they said, okay, they want to suspend her. They're going to send a petition against her to ethics committee with the goal to suspend her. I believe the petition was by Senator Daramodu, who is the spokesman of the Senate. Now, the ethics committee was allegedly supposed to sit on the 11th, but they moved it forward. After they had done this, she went to the courts to try and get an injunction on this ethics committee issue. And then she went on her rise.
Yeah.
And she sat down on her rise in the morning and she said, because when she was, by the way, when they were throwing her out that because she's not sitting on her rise, she stood up and she said, I'm not afraid of you, sir. And she was talking to the Senate president. She said it multiple times, sir, I'm not afraid of you. I'm not afraid of you. And when she was saying that, I was getting the sense of it's because of these allegations. But she didn't say it on the floor. And because she didn't say it on the floor, I did not think she would say it on her rise. Because when you say it on the floor, you're kind of protected by the rules. But if you say it on her rise, you're not, you've taken it to the media. But she went on Arise News in the morning and she alleged that that she has been undergoing sexual harassment and bullying at the hands of the Senate President of Nigeria. That this has begun even before she was a senator. And because of his relationship with her husband, one, she was at first reluctant to tell her husband, and two, because he's powerful and now she's a senator and he's a Senate president, she was reluctant to say anything. And importantly, that when she went to speak to him, because I think people are glossing over this part, that when she went to speak to him about that she's trying to move a motion about Ajaokuta steel mill, that he said to her, that is it that if you make me happy?
Yeah, that if
that he can make, basically that
I can't remember the exact
phrasing is
said.
Yes. But that he could make her time.
He could make her time.
If she make him happy,
she will enjoy her time in the Senate.
Yes.
And I think like, because even some men are having these conversations, they're like, is it not just sexual advice? So if I look at you now, or if I like you now, or if I'm like, that's one thing that's a problem, in fact. But the second most important thing is that she's saying that in doing her duty as a senator, in trying to do her duty for her constituents,
what she was voted in to do,
what she struggled, for years to be able to do to get here, that in the midst of trying to do
her job,
the Senate president, the number 3 man in the country, said, "Oh, you can do your job,
or you can make me happy and like have a great time."
Yeah, like only you know, basically you will only be allowed to do your job if I'm happy with you.
Yes, if I'm happy with you.
And the underside of that, which nobody needs to say, is you don't make me happy, you'll be frustrated. Which is exactly what it was playing out for her.
So those are her allegations. Odudua. Those are
it always jumps out. You see that your brother always jumps out.
It always jumps out.
But sometimes I just say, Odudua, please, not
this. Like I know the older we get, the worse.
I'm just like, this is actually not the time for my ancestors.
The older we get, the worse it gets, man. Sometimes I just say, I'm getting so hungry. I say, Jola.
No, and for me, the worst part is if I'm reading. Because I'm reading teleprompter, I'll be giving them Britico. Somebody say, what's this one we have? Been British accent. Then sometimes it's America. Then I'll just read and I say, Horder 47.
No, even this weekend, as I was arguing, I just said on the East Street, I said, Carl, which East Street? No, it's actually
it just
crazy.
jumps out. It just jumps out. But yeah, we were saying that basically, those are the allegation that she alleged.
Yes, and the allegations that she alleged, and the chain of events that then culminated in her getting suspended
for 6 months.
For 6 months, security removed, allowances withheld, told to not come near National Assembly premises or be allowed.
Herself a senator.
Mind you, this is illegal. This is illegal, and they are aware it is illegal.
Yeah.
And I think, like, because when the day she was getting the day before she got suspended, when they were doing the ethics hearing, I was at National Assembly, but then because I'm on air in the mornings and I go to National Assembly, and I was just on my way there. I just saw the protest. I said, Mukhtar, yeah, I'm dropping here. He said, Ma, I said, where?
Can I just say that Adesuwa's protest videos are, funny and also just deeply disturbing things I've ever seen, because I kept laughing, but I kept thinking, literally after each video that I saw, I said, no, we're cooked. This nation finished. What the hell?
What was the protest that you caught?
So because she was submitting her petition that day, because then she decided, because it said you brought it to media, but she was submitting a petition against the Senate president, asking for him to be investigated for sexual harassment and misuse of office or abuse of power.
Okay.
There was a pro-Natasha Akpoti protest planned. Now, I know some women groups had come together to plan those protests. The thing about, I've realized now, particularly being so often with politicians, they actually do not believe that there's anything like an authentic protest.
Yeah.
Because they sponsor protests.
They think everything has an agenda.
Yeah.
They think everything has an agenda. Like
everything has a backer.
Everything has a backer. They can't process, actually, honestly, in the years since NSAS, I understand why they were so sure.
Literally everybody
they wanted Buhari
was
to go. He must be PDP. He must be this person. Because they live in a different reality. And I think I saw that reality at the gates of National Assembly. Because you had pro-Natasha Akpoti supporters. And what you end up with is a mix of people. You have some people who have come up from Kogi states, who are her actual constituents. They have to be sponsored in some way or the other.
Yeah, because how'd they get there?
Because it has to be either, it could be self-sponsorship, it could be her sponsorship, but these are her constituents saying, we fought. And one guy was quoting MLK to me, quoting Martin King. He said, that we fought Yahaya. And Akpoti wants to harass her. I said, you mean it? Like, she has her people there. You had Ibira women who are there, who are her tribe. Then you had some women who I know people who are there, like just from Abuja, just being like,
just in
this
general.
is frustrating me. I'm coming out. I'm coming to National Assembly. And then you also had women who were like, come out for all women issue things. Then you had the pro-Akpabio protest. There were two guys. The first two guys I saw there, they were wearing red cap and shroud. I said, yeah, big man. What are you doing here?
Yeah.
I said, well, I'm an Akpabio aide. I said, oh, fascinating, interesting. I said, so you sponsor the protest? I said, no. This protest is people who are concerned Nigerian citizens. I said, wow, fantastic. I was talking to some of them. One of them said, there's no counter-protest. There's no counter-protest. And then also said, I'm here to counter the protest. I said, let's see if we should join heads.
They should have had a meeting ahead of
know
time.
what your narrative is. And another thing people say, and I understand this because we've caught them at our rise, is that if you see people come with printed banner, somebody has paid for it.
No, but 100%.
100%.
Somebody has. So you had the pro-Natasha supporters, you had the pro-Akpabio supporters, and I was interviewing them. I asked a woman, are you here for Akpabio? She said, yes. I realized after the second person that I interviewed, I need to ask this question. So I said, so are you here for Natasha? She said, yes. I said, both of them. She said, no. No. I said, which one? She said, I don't really know.
So that's a paid protester.
Obviously, because that's someone they just said, look, come out, be angry, carry banner, do one or two things.
I asked somebody, they said, who are you here for? She said, hey, the people who said that slap her, they say, Akpabio. And you're laughing, but it's also
honestly,
funny.
It's so funny for this. Well, it's not really funny because I remember after NSAS, people were constantly like, come and tell me who sponsored the protest. And I was just like, sorry, did you not see? Okay, you guys were not there when it happened. I mean, what the hell do you mean? They were like, no, who was the secret backer? I was like, we were publishing the money on the web, on the internet. There was no, they were so convinced.
They will never
that there
believe
was
you.
one Godfather inside PDP.
They will never
not only did
you.
they sponsor, they also gave other people money to make it look like.
No, they will never believe you.
Until there, people are still like, come and tell me the truth. And I'm like,
because
what are you saying?
NSAS ended up also being kind of organized and coalescing around a message, and also the fact that, okay, there's no leader or whatever, and this is an authentic youth movement. They can never believe. Because they actually exist. Honestly, sometimes, because I exist in that world from time to time, and the world that politicians live in is a completely different reality from the world that maybe we live in. And they also, because, sometimes I was talking to someone and he was just like, you stupid Ajebutters. You come and tell me, how are you concerned about the policy? That I'll now go to my constituents and say, I'm concerned about policy. They tell you the people in my constitution know anything about policy. Okay. And he looked at me and he said, you Ajebutters, you go to school abroad, you come and you now be blowing English. He told me that one time he built a clinic. When he went there, they were praying. They said that he wants them to fall sick. Then I'll come and tell him, why don't you care about health outcome for maternal health care? And then if I say, and then the rest of you stupid internet will just be abusing us on the internet. That you people, you're not that. Is that what my and it's for me? It just reinforces the problem. It's part of why I went to National Assembly. I'm like, people do not know the role of a legislator. If your legislator is building a bridge, ask why. Where did you get that money from? Your legislators don't have, but like you get constituency budgets or but it's not. Legislators technically don't get money. Yeah, and so when you have the deputy Senate president going to Kano, giving out keke, giving out car.
You have to wonder, like, what are you doing?
Where is the money coming from? And what is your actual... That's an executive
everything
job.
Has been so warped that you almost even expect senators to do projects. And you're like...
So they are taking on executive roles that they have no business doing and no budget allocation for.
And sometimes I feel bad for them. And I know that's going to not be a popular thing to say. Because the things that would make them good at their jobs are not the things that is rewarded politically. And so they're drawn between doing their job and being able to maintain their job.
Like maybe there's that, but they're terrible people. I would
100%.
No, I think there's a lot, like in the house.
Not all of them, but it's just the way everyone I understand like this is the way things are, but I'm just like also, you know, at the stage you people are at, what are you telling me now?
But you have to think, the makeup of, for example, the House of Representatives and the Senate is completely different. It's not the same type of people. There's a member of the House who used to be an Okada rider 3 years ago. Mm-hmm. There's people who are like 27. There are people who, the House is mostly new.
Yeah.
A lot of them have never been in politics before. They're fresh.
Yeah.
Right? And some of them are eager. Like Honorable Tessa Ugo, I can't pronounce his last name, but he's from Benue State. Mm-hmm. He loves the climate. He loves the environment. I don't even know. Anytime he's coming up, he's Nigeria climate protects our mangrove, protects this. We have desertification. That's not going to win him an election, right? And then you also have, but then the Senate, and that's why Natasha is in trouble. Senator Natasha, is because it says we have Tambuwa and the person he took over from governors or ex-governors
who are both,
We have like nearly 10 ex-governors. Akpabio himself is an ex-governor.
A lot of them are just, they just keep staying there.
Oshomole is
they
there.
Dance around minister, governor,
Benga
Senate.
Daniels is there. These are, and then even the ones who are not ex-governors, imagine these are big men, they were governors. Then you now have guys who maybe came from House of Reps. Or guys who like, maybe they wanted to be minister or whatever. Senate is either a retirement home for men who don't necessarily want to be irrelevant yet, or people who are using it as a platform for something else. Mm. And I think their interests are more entrenched by the time they get to the Senate. That's why I'm not surprised that nobody spoke up in her favor. Mm. Because they are protecting their interests like this. Mm-hmm. I don't think it would have happened the same way in the House. Even also because of leadership and the characteristics of the leaders, right? So Akpabio has a very different temperament from Abbas, who's the Speaker of the House. And I think the quality of the character who's in leadership also matters. Because they signal how everybody else acts.
Because different Senate presidents, they run things differently. You can feel whether, this is like a daddy and this is what I say goes, or when they've made it so that everybody's actually an adult. Yeah.
I think, so that's the background of what's been happening in the Nigerian...
No, we've not finished though, because we've not gotten into how it's played out on the day. Like, just for me, one of the most undignified things that happened on that day is them not allowing her talk.
So I just want to say that that's the background of how we got here and why, kind of like explaining to people what we're talking about in terms of like the atmosphere at the moment. So that's where we've got into, and this has all played out on national TV. Just before we get more into what happened on like the day and what's happened in the days after, I also want to note that there was an altercation between Ikeja and members of the Nigerian Air Force.
No, not Ikeja.
Ikeja specifically, and members of the Nigerian Air Force. And so basically, the Nigerian Air Force allegedly owes
4 billion
naira in unpaid power bills to Ikeja Disco. 4 billion naira is around $4 million, let's say, and they haven't paid this bill. And so I think Ikeja Disco has basically, like, after months back and forth, years I think of back and forth, they cut their power lines.
Yeah. Even before they did that, they tried to go and put meter. They beat.
Okay. So basically, for people who don't know, yet again, a meter, everyone knows what a meter is. It basically reads how much power is
you're
being
using. Yeah. But even the meter itself, it's really dicey. Look, I mean, I recently came out of this fight. Obviously, not nearly as dramatic. NEPA is giving you power, especially if you're a business or whatever. And then they put a meter so that you can read the consumption of your power. But then there are all these, frankly, corrupt things where they can still just give you a random ass estimate of what your bill is. And then if you want to avoid paying the bill entirely, you can't even have the meter because there'll be something there that is reading, which is what the Air Force was trying to accomplish. So this is the issue of the meter.
Yeah. But so, they cut off access to their power, and members of the Nigerian Air Force, I shit you not, go into...
As in they raided
into the Ikeja Disco building and physically attack workers. And then they lock the CEO of Ikeja Disco in the boot of a car. they locked her in the boot of a car. Now, considering
I just want you guys to understand, sorry, that Ikeja Disco is not like...
It's a private company.
Yeah, it's not like a small private company. Like you can count the distribution companies that we have. So she's not the CEO of... Like you can't do this without, for them to do it and be so brazen about it. It's not a small thing, is what I'm trying to say. They didn't go to a random company and bundle their CEO. They put her in a booth.
And, they beat people up. They scattered the office. And so these things happened
on the same day?
On the same. So it's kind of like, I was watching and reading, and this is alongside, if you're a Nigerian of any sort, right? Daily, this is alongside daily news of like, a woman was sexually assaulted here, and a man killed his wife for not cooking. And so you're reading all of that stuff is going on. And then you put on the radio and you're hearing people talk about feminism this and women this. And then you put on the TV and then you see that one of the 4 female senators in the Nigerian Senate is suspended for 6 months for accusing.
I think it's important that you said that it's one of the 4 female senators. Because I think maybe a lot of listeners do not know. Nigeria has the lowest number of representation for women in parliament in sub-Saharan Africa. We have the lowest number in sub-Saharan Africa. We have 4 out of 109. Our representation is around 4%.
Yeah.
So
continue. So you put that on, and then right after that, you see the news about like what's going on between Ikeja Disco and the Nigerian Airforce. And on that backdrop, you are looking at it and you're just, if you have any sort of faculties as a Nigerian woman, your immediate thought shouldn't be just now for this country. It is extremely troubling.
It is.
It is extremely worrying and scary and nothing to take sort of lying down. And then we get to the second bit, right? So we said, yes, there are 4 female senators in Nigerian Senate. How many in the House of Reps?
House of
Roughly.
Reps is 16, 18 maybe?
Yeah, something like that. Out of 100 and what?
Out of 316.
Out of 316, it's 18 women. And so combined, it's 400 and something legislators, and we have less than 40 women. We have less than 30.
I don't know if it's less than 30. It's definitely less than 40. My house numbers are a bit fudgy.
A bit fudgy, but it's less than 40 women.
Boys and girls, please, we've come here today with a request. We've come to beg you. We are on our knees.
Yeah.
Don't forget that we're sitting down. Just imagine it with your mind. Please, they say, you people, you always ask us for many things. Like now, Beyonce won a Grammy. They said, have her on the podcast. Okay, no, good and fine. But how do we want to have her when you don't want to subscribe? You don't want to share the podcast? You don't want to download? What are the other things they do again?
Everything.
Follow, what again? Comment and what again?
Everything.
All the things.
Just do what you're supposed to do.
Do the things and then we'll have Beyonce. Very simple.
Yeah.
Okay?
I even made a song. Do you want to hear my song?
That's not the video we're doing right now. Okay, go ahead.
It matters.
See.
Because I need to clear my throat. Let me make sure that is in order.
You don't remember the song?
No, I want to make sure it's in order.
Of what?
Like, share, subscribe, and comment if you're not a bastard, because it's important. That's another song.
That's the whole song.
That's the whole song.
Okay, there's no chorus, hook.
No need.
Bridge.
I'm somebody that I like to be brief, succinct. Tell them what to do. Let them get it in one go. See, you are talking. I did one line. But yeah, guys, you know what to do.
Please.
Yeah.
Do all the
it's
things.
important.
It's important.
And then they want Beyonce to come to a podcast with 40,000 subscribers.
Thank you. When you people will not subscribe. See,
lunatics.
Sometimes you really upset me. Because we're going up and down. Oh, we're the biggest. Only for you to open there, we don't have up to 40,000 people. What's it? What's the essence?
All right, guys, enjoy the rest of the episode.
Don't let us be disgraced as a community, please. Don't let us be disgraced, please.
And the first egregious thing that happened was that none of her female colleagues backed her.
Worse than that.
And so that's the first thing. No, there's that. None of her female colleagues backed her. That's the first thing. It now took it up an egregious notch when they started publicly it wasn't that a recorded conversation was leaked or somebody overheard. These grown women who have also had extremely traumatizing experiences with their colleagues in different ways. They've had deeply unpleasant experiences in the course of their ambition, come out to disparage and mock Senator Natasha's plight. And it is just, when you're watching it, so this is the thing about being Nigerian can be very disappointing in that when people are doing crazy things, your first instinct is to understand, because you understand already that this country is not normal. So there's some things that you're watching happening and your Nigerian mind is explaining to you exactly why a person is behaving the way they are. Being a Nigerian woman, I understand what it is to get into a position that is like fraught with tension, where your being there is not just unwelcome, it is considered an affront. Like, women do not belong here. You're dealing with colleagues who genuinely, it's not an attitude. Their belief is that women belong in the kitchen, women should be seen and not heard. Women's role is max, you're raising children. Those are your colleagues. Those are people that you work with. So I understand a fear for your personal political ambition, the fact that you have to continue to work with these people, they have to like you. If you want to put forward bills, they have to back you. If you're going to get anything done, if you're going to push your ambition, it is your colleagues that you need to rely on. I understand that. What I cannot understand is why you don't shut the fuck up.
Thank you.
I understand. See, I get it completely in that this world I'm living in is not the normal.
Have you seen Erelu Fayemi's write-up?
I'm getting to her. So I'm getting to my babe. I'm getting to my babe. But I want to first understand that there is a world in which it is shameful because it is, you say, it's lacking in courage.
Yes.
But anybody who has been
more than lacking in
what
courage.
I mean is that keeping quiet. No. There's this shameful part which is that you know the right thing.
Yeah.
But everybody who has passed the adult age, from secondary school when people are being bullied and you keep quiet, you understand that what I am being right now is a coward. But at least I am not physically joining them. Right? I can go back. The person who has been bullied or made fun of, I can say sorry. I can share my snacks. And they might give me that look like, so why didn't you say anything? But at least they understand that I'm not actively against you. I'm just tacitly supporting you. When you get to the point as a woman in Nigerian Senate, because it's a very specific experience. So you understand misogyny in a different way. You understand the humbling, you understand the humiliation of certain things you have to do, of talking to men who are frankly deeply more stupid than you. In a grating, obeisance of having passes made at you that you pass off as a joke, knowing that this thing is actually assault. But because I have to work with you every day, I can't alienate you. You know this on like an integral, deep level. Why do you see your colleague being publicly humiliated and harassed? Again, being Nigerian is a very specific experience. There is no upside to accusing a random man of sexual assault, not to talk of the third most powerful man in this country.
You don't gain anything.
There is no gain. Let me tell you this as somebody who has been groped in the market, groped by a driver, groped by... You don't gain anything. Even shouting in the market, pushing a man in the market, they'll tell you, you better leave him, he will beat you. At least he finds you attractive. Why are you shouting? That is at the lowest strata of society. There is no upside to accusing the third most powerful man in this country who has been a governor, who has been a senator multiple times, who has been a minister. He has basically touched all the possible avenues of power and maintains a hold on that power. There is no upside of being a new senator in this country and accusing that man of sexual assault publicly.
Harassment,
publicly. There is no upside to it. So how do you, as someone who understands more than anybody else, and this is what I mean, Nigerian women understand what it is to be harassed. But when you are a female senator, you don't have many colleagues. You don't have many people who understand what it means to get to this place. How does it tally? Even if you are being put under pressure by your other colleagues, you will tell him, Oga, I know I owe you big favors, but you see this one.
I don't think she was being put under pressure, by the way.
I'm saying these are all the things that people are potentially
I want to
saying.
say this one, Sha. Because Senator Iriti Kingbe was there at you know me, I work at Arise.
Yes.
Morning show, after morning show, you have business, which is like and then you now have Newsday. She was on seats, like she was the first person to speak.
Yeah.
She spoke before Senator Akpabio's wife, before we set up Mike in the house for Senator Akpabio's wife. Senator Kingbe had spoken on Arise News. I don't think she was under pressure. I think she was concerned with her own interests.
I think she wanted to come out.
She wanted to come out.
Because the way she came out, it was like, actually, nobody is chasing you on this matter at this time.
So she was not the only one.
She wasn't.
And she wasn't, but the reason why I'm saying that, because I also want people, because I also think that women have agency.
Yeah. Yes, 100%.
And they are utilizing that agency for different reasons.
Yes.
And I think she has utilized her own in the most selfish and disappointing. It's very, very, very upsetting.
Yeah.
Particularly because, and like for me, particularly because the first time that Senator Natasha had said that she was having issues with Senate President Akpabio, which I forgot to mention, was that nightclub incident. I remember at that same point in time, there were blogs that were saying...
Just for people who don't
have context.
Sorry, for people who don't have context, this same Senator Ireti Kingube was having issues in the Senate because her and the Minister of the FCT don't see eye to eye. And she stood up in the Senate and she was complaining about this. And Senator Natasha stood up in her defense, asking to allow Senator Ireti Kingbe be heard on the matter, that she should not be shut down on this issue. She spoke on Senator Ireti Kingbe's defense against the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, who then said that, Natasha, this is not a nightclub that can just be talking anyhow. And there was uproar on social media.
Because of again, being Nigerian is a very specific thing.
You understand exactly what he was doing when he said this is not a nightclub.
When he told, this. So there are things that we will continue to reiterate. When he told this beautiful, light-skinned, younger than, because she's in her 40s, but she's considered a baby. So this tells you the way the Nigerian Senate and House operates. She's considered a baby in politics. She's in her 40s. But when you tell this young, beautiful female senator that
this is not a nightclub.
You understand?
Look, if a man had said that, there would have been a reference. It would not have been that. You understand exactly what he's trying to say.
So they had already had this prior altercation, public altercation.
Around that same time, when he did the nightclub incident, there were all these rumors on the blogs about his activities with young women around the same time that this happened. And so he was under pressure.
Yeah.
And he apologized. But she says that him apologizing to her, this is Senator Natasha, alleged that apology cost her. That him, because he
having
apologized,
to apologize publicly on the floor of the Senate,
was just like, okay, well, you take this, but you're gonna take
what
you get after
else.
this.
I think the other thing is that Senator Ireti is on the Ethics Committee.
And she is the chair of the Women Committee.
Yeah. So I'm just like, excuse me. Even forget that you're a woman. The position you sit in is supposed to be one that is looking fairly at all matters. Yet here you are taking, it's not even bad. You've taken a clear stand before you've even got into the matter.
She said something that for me made me just sit down on the floor. She said, well, he has not sexually harassed us. I'm speaking for the other 3 women senators here. He has not sexually harassed us.
This is like Senator Florence Itagiwa saying that.
Who was a former senator?
She was a former senator. She said that once you get to the Senate, you are beyond sexual harassment.
So this is what I wanted us to even start.
When you get there, you are just a person. You're a senator. You're no longer a woman. And, and there were multiple things like this where people were coming outside.
Yeah, not just people, but I want to be very specific.
Women in power, ex-senators
Senator Biodun Olujimi, which that was the one that actually, because I know her personally.
That really upsets me. Yeah.
I know her personally.
Really
I have a relationship with Senator Biodun Olujimi. And the reason why I actually formed that relationship is because she was trying to push the Women Equity Bill.
Yeah.
That was the foundation of why I was looking for her. And her coming out to speak in such terms, first saying that the Senate is for old people, and to speak in this way, saying that is disappointing. is putting it very
Very
lightly.
mildly.
And I really appreciate that early Fahmi came out, because I believe she wrote the gender equity bill. I might be wrong, and maybe she doesn't want people to know, but
can I just say something, right? We're going to talk about tons of stuff.
Yeah.
That this couple of weeks have sort of brought up. Ageism, sexism,
just entrenched misogyny, women and men.
But then also, what happened right after with this sort of like rollout of former and current women who are prominent in Nigerian politics coming out to take an active stand, disparaging, belittling, kind of trying to muddy the waters around this incident, is a very specific thing in Nigerian culture between older Nigerian women and younger women. There has become a culture of, for lack of a better word, bullying and disparagement. And it's an intergenerational issue.
It's almost
between older women and younger Nigerian women. There is a pettiness, there is a cruelty, there's something, and for lack of a better term, it is around male attention.
Yeah.
Think of it this way. Think of it, if you've ever dealt with Nigerian civil service in any capacity, if you did NYSC, if you had to get your passport taken, if you've had to sort of like engage with any public service, there is an archetype that even appears in like skits and popular culture about a mean-spirited, middle-aged or older woman who makes it a point to punish or belittle younger women for existing. You hear it when it comes to, in the private sector, older bosses, female bosses. You hear it when it is in the church with women, older women. You see it and it's spoken about in families where there is like a hazing of the new wife. There is a hazing of the younger girls. There is an insult. Is it because you're a fine girl?
Yeah.
The attitude is that just because I'm punishing you for beauty and the attention you get for it. I'm punishing you for your outspokenness, and it is my job to break your spirits before you go any further.
And because I was broken myself.
Thank you. I think honestly, this thing stems from a thing of how dare you be the one to come out and do this, where we all saw this thing and none of us spoke. So who the hell do you think you are? And why do you think you're better than us in that way where you can come out? When I saw that, again, former Senator, now First Lady Remi Tinubu also said the Senate is a matured chamber. You know, when they choose all these
She
words.
was in a physical altercation in chamber.
Look, somebody literally threatened to impregnate her. Eastside.
While she was a senator.
While she was a senator. So I'm like,
you know exactly.
All of you know
Senator
exactly
Remi
what
Tinubu,
it is.
first of all, was a physical altercation. She has also insulted people on the ground.
Yeah.
We've had people fighting in our Senate. That's another thing, because the punishments meted out to Senator Natasha Akpoti Uduaghan for this.
It does
not tally.
at all.
Senator Ovie Omagege came with touts into chamber, stole mace. He didn't get 6 months.
There have been brawls inside the Senate.
He did not get 6
that
months.
threatened to impregnate the
They're
now
not just
First Lady
punishing
did
Senator
not get
Natasha.
that.
They're not just punishing Senator Natasha. And I think this is very important. And the reason why even that was happening is because we had another senator, Senator Abo, who beat up a woman on camera in a sex store.
And that man is still walking free.
In a sex store. But another thing that is very important is that, and I think that is why I keep hampering on this, is that it is no longer just about Senator Natasha.
100%.
Her punishment is a warning. You don't go against the grain. The Senate is like a fraternity. That is what, it's like our interests are our interests. You protect us from the eyes of the media. You protect us from and she's not a typical politician.
Yeah.
She doesn't really see it as an us. She's like, I'm here for Kogi Central.
Yeah.
And it politically is not a winning strategy. But she's just like, I'm here for this, and this is what I want to do. But it's also a signal to Nigerian women, and that's why I feel like every single Nigerian woman cannot let this go. It is a signal, because they are the punitive measures for Senator Ahmed Laman, who is the former Senate president, to stand up and say, can we think about the precedent this sets?
Yes.
For the former Senate president to say that you are withdrawing her security, she's not,
She's
when
not.
she left the Senate chamber, a mic caught somebody saying she's not coming back here. When she left for her suspension, a mic caught a
Also,
senator
for
saying
me,
she's not
it's
coming
like,
back here.
look, they are so. You know what's one of the things that I find crazy is that I feel like before, let's even use the government, men, we're talking about many things at the same time. But before, in this contest, they used to dance around things. Before, there was a performance of, we're not going to do the right thing, but we'll still whine you. There was a performance of, let's even pretend. I feel like before now, they would have pretended to do that investigation and then find him. You see now, the brazenness of, look at me, look, I'm looking at you. We will not do it. And there's nothing you people can fucking do.
Chair of Ethics Committee said this petition is dead on arrival.
Dead on arrival.
They were laughing.
They said that
they were
she doesn't
laughing.
understand how they joke in the set. Look, and I'm just like, do you know what it is for people to just in your face be legislators are trouncing on the law? And they're telling you that we know it's illegal. The Supreme Court said that you can only suspend the senator for 14 days. They said that is you people's fucking business. What we've done here is what we're going to do. I don't give a shit about anybody.
We need to think about the message that sends to... See, I'm about to turn 33 and I have friends that work in finance.
Yeah.
I have friends that work in tech. I have friends that work in manufacturing. I have friends that work in oil and gas. And it is terrifying to watch male legislators try and bully women into silence, specifically over the issue of sexual harassment. Because you're sending a message to powerful men everywhere in domestic and work situations. And the church and religion, and faith, work, and home, the three pillars of society. Now, don't worry.
Nothing is going to happen.
There is no consequence.
And also,
There's
not
no
just that, she will be punished.
Yes,
Look,
exactly.
She will be punished.
Exactly.
I was saying this to somebody. I remember on that day, there were so many things that I really want to focus on where, men have always, to me, men are always deeply problematic. So when they do things, I'm not often surprised. But you see, a lot of the responses for women, I just thought, no, we're really cooked. First of all, one of the wild things about that day was the things you think are the privileges that, every woman is going through different things at the hands of Nigerian men. But the privileges, from power,
from
money,
class,
fame, class, pretty privilege. None of them
married to a powerful man. Even that is known to colleagues.
None of them, a man that's even friends with, none of them could protect her. Look at the CEO of Ikeja Electric. These are not women that, as in, have no backing. They come from nowhere. And yet, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter
I do want to say that is part of why, just to link it back to International Women's Day, that is why I feel particularly strongly this year. I do think that there is something about sitting down to think. I had a whole rant last week with a friend of mine about how I worry that we aren't thinking enough.
Yeah.
Just taking the time out to think about what does this thing mean?
What does it mean?
Forget the anger and the reaction. What does this thing actually mean? And the reason why it's very important and we kind of cancelled, we had all these plans of things we wanted to do and ways but I just thought, we're talking about senators didn't back hand. Do you know what was even more disappointing? Even vocal, public-facing, sort of like the women that we...
International women that we roll out.
The regulars. So like the International Women's Day champions. The ones that everybody...
people on the posters. The people on the panels.
That exciting bit. Just...
They were silent.
The silence and almost the...
Sorry. There's the silence because also they're trying to protect their own interests. I know some women who support her in the House, for example, who can't come out against their party or whatever because their own interests will be at risk and they're thinking, I have important work to do here for women.
Yeah.
And so if I play my hand on this matter, I will not be able to be effective in my work. I still need these people. And then you have to play an internal game where you're always losing.
Yeah.
And that's why a lot of women don't go into politics,
yes.
right?
Thank you for this.
You're losing on all sides.
But there's also that you're losing on all sides. And you know, it's the game I have to play.
No, 100%.
Accessing these spaces,
For
being
sure.
a young babe, boy, this. And I can't tell you the amount of times that I just cry. And I'm just like, this is so degrading. This is so degrading. Like, how can somebody just talk to me like this for no reason because I exist how I am? And I also do refuse to play certain games. Like, ask me to, I say, I'm going to wear my eyeshadow, maybe not to NAS, but I'm going to do it. Because I don't want to lose the parts of myself that make me myself in order to exist in this space. But I also have privilege, like you said, that helps me, right? My dad is my CSO and my CMO. He's my chief marketing officer, chief security officer. There's rarely a place, someone cannot say, I saw your daughter here and my dad doesn't know I'm there. Because for me, I just need to know this, like, because you're taking meetings in the evening. You're taking meetings. Somebody can call you now and say, oh, come and meet me in a hotel. I say, oh, sir, I don't go to rooms. I don't go to rooms. Say, big man like me, you think I will spoil myself on your name? I spell my name on your small girl like you. I don't go to rooms, sir. You can, like, most of the meetings, they just call you, come here, it's 8 p.m., it's 9 p.m. I've been in rooms where I'm the only woman. I'm the only person under 50. And you have to think that, I was in a situation one time, and I can say it now because I spoke to him about it. I was in a situation one time where I was in a room with like 5 ex-governors, this. And Rufai came. And I think this was the first time he had met me outside of work. And I think he saw me there and was just thinking, so she's that type of thing. And it was very hurtful. And I had to call him aside and be like, I was there chasing an interview for Untold Stories. And I felt like you judged me. You just prejudged me because I'm a young woman. I'm here. Why is she here? It's evening, right? But I had that conversation with him. He was very, like, he's professionally one of the best co-workers I have at Arise, right? But I remember having that conversation with him because I felt like I saw something in his eye. Like he's just thinking,
You saw the quick glance and like, oh, okay,
so
no
what's she doing here? But you are here too.
But you were there and you're my colleague.
You are here too. And you can be here. And that's the dance that women have to play. Like, I can decide that maybe I should not go there because it will look like this. Or maybe I should go there because they can further my career.
Can I quickly, before I forget this point, because you made a very interesting and important thing. Again, like I said earlier, that there are things that you understand fundamentally about power, politics, being Nigerian, being in certain spaces, and why sometimes you keep quiet even when you see clear injustice, because you have like a career or you have things you want to do that actually are hinged on you being in certain spaces. So you don't want to expend, do you understand, your goodwill, or you don't want to, you just look at the landscape and you think this is not what I want to burn some of my fuel on. But what the last couple of weeks has told me is that in the public sphere, I've seen 2 women who I respect that have spoken up. But in the public sphere, particularly in politics, even Nigerian female politicians do not believe that female support is worth anything.
They don't.
Let me explain why. As somebody who understands deeply optics, this is what careers are built on. You see this opportunity that they missed? This thing is what careers are built on, particularly in an environment where the people you are trying to impress, there is nothing you are going to do. And by nothing, I mean there's absolutely nothing you are going to do to gain their true respect or to be seen as an equal. The people you are trying to keep your head down for are plotting with your actual like competition on how they're going to get you out of that place. Don't worry. She's going to be a one-term senator. Don't mind her. Shebi is 4 years. We'll wait her out. We'll rubbish her. We'll roadblock her. She won't achieve anything. Let her just collect her salary and go. She'll go and do one women's skinny after. That is their thinking already. So when you miss the opportunity to tell 50% of the population that I understand you and I see you and I'm going to back you even when it's dangerous, you are no different in their eyes. See, I understand all the things you are saying, but you are not different to me because when push comes to shove, you don't rate me. Yeah. So why?
But Jola, this is the
But
thing.
it's also because Nigerian women, politically, I have to say this.
No, I understand. So that's what I'm trying to explain.
No,
that from an
also,
optics and from an optics.
Say your points. I want to say something.
No, very importantly.
Yeah.
Nigerian women have opted out of politics, and so we are not politically important. Like, we are not
they're not the constituency they're choosing.
We're not their constituency. We're not in the primaries. We're not the delegates that are voting in the primaries. We're not the money bags that are supporting elections. We're not the party officials that are going to certify or whatever. Nigerian women, and that's why, and I always say this, like, part of why I do my show is because I want younger people to be interested in politics and see how different things work. But also, like, Nigerian women, we need to be engaged from the actual process, not just like running for positions, but actually engaged in the process, because most of the people in the process are men. And so we're not their constituents. Is it like you're saying that, she's discounted 50%, because that 50% is really 15.
Yeah.
If we're lucky, if we're being, if we're being generous or kind, is that it may be 15%. 85% of our constituents for her, of the delegates, of the power brokers, whatever, are men.
Yeah, but
they're not there
the
for
problem.
us.
The problem is just exactly what it's exactly. See, my favorite thing about what Elufayemi said was, you people don't realize that you're not even in the book. The book that the fights that you're fighting between you, Senator Natasha, they can't see the difference.
Thank you.
They cannot see what is busting my brain about people not just not coming out for her, but coming out against her, is that tomorrow, when I say tomorrow, I mean literally tomorrow. Tomorrow, your issue will come and they will do the same. There is no, you gain zero.
And the only senator who would have spoken for her is the Senator Natasha.
For you is the person
and the only person who has spoken for you is the same Senator Natasha. They can undress her on the floor.
I don't understand.
Tomorrow,
is that tomorrow you will be her. You, as in, I'm not even using it to threaten you. You people, and what's crazy is all of you have been her. Tomorrow you will be her again. All of them have the people that Ireti Kingbe has, who she's fighting in the FCT, who is just one by one, just giving her shege at every front. You are her. So that one is also looking at you that, hey, okay, today I'm talking. Come home. Let's jam our own. Do you understand?
You know the most politically important women in Abuja? Wives.
That's why they can speak so fervently. For the Senate president to be cutting, okay, my wife...
Do you know who blocks gender equity bill that Senator Ojime's Senator's wives?
You see?
Senator's wives forum.
So for me, I'm just like, I don't understand. I'm not even looking at it politically. I don't understand how you people cannot even take an opportunity to be relevant in any way. Plus the wives.
This is what
plus the business
because
women.
They don't think it matters.
Plus everybody.
They don't think it matters.
I hope all of you realize that someone was saying that what is so funny is that they can't, we're all Senator Natasha. That's actually who we are. Fundamentally, that is what they think. So the fact that none of you can even, it's not even about standing up against sexual, it's not even about whether you believe or not. It's just fundamentally, see, I want us to realize that's who we are. In every stratosphere, that is who you are. So you're not fighting for her. Someone was saying that you're fighting for yourself. Yeah. And to me, it's actually stupid. It's a stupid strategy to not fight for yourself in that position. Do you know what, Ishiza?
I do think that this sort of encapsulates, or it shows so clearly this fallacy.
It is.
That a lot of people labor under about you have to play the game.
Because you people are playing a nonsense game.
And you're watching it from the outside. And this is the thing of how, when you think you're playing a game and people are trying to warn you that this thing you're doing is nonsense. But
you're playing the wrong game.
Yes, you've convinced yourself that there's no way. And then everybody looking on from the outside can see very clearly.
We can see that you're not even...
See, that playing the game thing, that playing the game thing. First of all, I personally hate anybody that says we're playing the game. Somebody recently texted me, I'm playing the game. How many of them do I know now? Everybody has moved from, I'm a member of Follow Club, LPC, APC pipeline. Everybody is in Abuja.
Yeah.
Everybody's in Abuja. And there are people who are like, so intelligent, what this? I just see you do banner. I said, what are you doing here? Saying you have to play the game. You have to play the game. All of you have played the game so much so that the game has become the reality.
You've even forgotten. You're not playing the game anymore.
Yeah.
Like for me, like it's not just because it's with young people too. It's with women. It's this idea of, that's why sometimes like I battle with it, right? And because sometimes you're going to lose, sometimes you're not going to lose. But I battle with this idea of me playing the game. This idea of me, how do I have access to these spaces or knowledge of these things? And then also how much am I still myself in these spaces, right? And how do I continue to because in order to have impact, you must have power.
Yeah.
Right. Maiwa and I argue about this all the time. Maiwa of cultural custodian, because we're talking about this idea of coalition building just for sake of getting power, or, you know, working with strange bedfellows in politics in order to actually get power. And I said that AOC, Alexander Ocasio, she said something that was very important to me, and I wrote it down. She said, we have a moral obligation to win.
Yeah.
The people we are fighting are
they're
evil,
winning at every cost.
and they are winning, and all this of like, let's do it this way. Let's wear color pink. Let's do this shit. Like, we have a moral obligation to win. I do not have to agree with this person 100%, but I agree with them enough, you know, that, and it's not like I'm losing, because people think, oh, that means you're losing your own morals or you're losing your own way. And so I understand this idea of playing the game. But in Nigeria, playing the game has just become the reality.
Yes, and you're not, it's not, okay, playing the game is not what Ireti Kingibe is doing.
That's not.
Senator Ireti Kingibe is not playing the game. That is not playing. Do you understand what I mean? What the former senators, former ministers, what, you know, these women that they trotted out, that is not playing the game. You shamed yourself.
That's not playing the game. You're
and you
honestly
solid
just
yourself
talking outside.
Because you know this thing of, and this is why you have to think really carefully before you make certain decisions. You don't take every opportunity that comes to you immediately. Sometimes you have to just take a little bit to think. You see, one thing about these men that we laugh at, you know, they are so silly. What are they doing, these senators? When it's time to back your guy, it's to the grave. It's to the wheels fall off. He's in my party.
Yeah.
He's my friend. We did this politics together. I'm paying back the favor. That time she stood up to stand on the floor for me. I'm paying back the favor because this is how it operates. And we're not many. And I know what I'm doing. This is not, I just want to make it clear that this is not playing the game. I understand, again, because that's why I started with saying that I understand it's a different beast.
Also, can I actually just say that I don't even think, I'm sorry to say, I don't think that these women that are coming out are even evolved enough to consider that they're playing in the game. I think this is actually this is what is on their chest.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I think a lot of older women believe that the price for politics is sexual harassment is one
and
of
humiliation.
them. Yeah.
I think they believe it comes with it.
Because I think, was it Senator Oduaghan who said that, or I can't remember if it was her or Florence Ikeja said that, making the rest of us look weak. And they genuinely believe that. They're like, by highlighting, that's why they're trying to say you are no longer a woman when you enter these spaces, because they're trying to strip the power from saying, because they feel like it's not powerful actually to come out and say, I have been harassed or I have been assaulted. They think it's a weakness. And I understand their generation, the way they think about it, because they feel like if you highlight the fact that you're different and you're a woman, what then happens is that means actually we should just not have women in this space. And you're drawing attention to the fact that you're a woman. They think it's a weakness. And I understand the thinking because it is how the men think.
Yes,
if I go and say, oh, they are sexually harassing journalists, now say, let me not give any woman an interview again. Before they will say I'm harassing her. And so there's this thought process of, you are going to make us look weak. You're going to deny us opportunities if you highlight the fact that you're a woman or you highlight our specific gender issues.
It's right there for you to also see that, actually, you know what? If we start fighting this bullshit on this level with the power that we have, then it will no longer be an issue of, because people are treating it like she's whining. And I'm like, sorry, are we okay? One of them said,
such a dangerous
how
place
can
to be.
you allow someone to harass you as a senator? And I said,
meanwhile, when you hear the story, it is so jarring because she followed the rules of what you're supposed to do. She did. She went with her husband to his house. Her husband was standing right behind them. When you listen to, Just listen to her retelling. Listen to her retelling the story again. You know, they were going together. Allegedly took her by the hand, and they started walking ahead. So her husband is a couple of steps behind. And even at that, because remember, see, there's nothing like watching or hearing or seeing in real time all the fallacies come apart. All that stuff they tell you. Marry. She did it.
They even use the marriage against her. All of a sudden now, she's carrying her husband up and down. Where is her? Do you know the number of people that
they tell you, like,
the number of women I saw commenting, oh, where is her husband? Fighting for her. I'm like, even as a senator.
I remember a thing, an event I was like a women in politics event. And you know, the sort of like exhortation was, you marry a supportive partner. Because, you know, you want to marry the kind of man that when they call those meetings in the night, he'll stand up with you and say, baby, let's go.
Look, at the end of the day.
Okay, to what end now?
At the end of the day, my own is this thing that we do. And people, a lot of women were doing it where they were saying, someone was saying, oh, where is her husband? Why is he not fighting for her? I said, I want you to understand that this woman is a sitting senator. In terms of power, please.
She's one of the most powerful people in this country.
In terms of power, if she walks in, if her husband walks in, I want us to be frank, she's a senator. Which one is where is her husband? What are you talking about?
Did you see how a senator stood up and said that even when we go for meetings and her husband is there and he sits amongst us, senators, the husband will sit amongst us.
That is
it. And you also hear that she said that she asked her husband to call the Senate president and say, please let my wife move in motion.
Can you imagine?
Do you know how demoralizing it is?
You are the senator. And then, you know, and then people love to just take all these things. Oh, she was kissing her husband. Probably, I said, yeah. If she doesn't have a husband, problem. If she has a husband, she kisses him, problem.
No, I like that one from them.
I love it.
Oh, I think they must
keep... You know, and that kiss, it really pained them.
They came
the way
they came to National Assembly
and he left, it really pained them because who the hell do you think you are?
No, do you know what I love that
also,
from her.
There's also a lot of... There's
so many...
And there's a lot of things that people are pretending and dancing around and, you know... And this is one of the... I love... Apart from disturbing my mother, I just like having like back and forth with her. Nigerians are very interesting people in our refusal to engage with how we really feel and what we really think, and just dancing around, particularly in public space. What sexual jealousy and sexual envy does in our society, the way it warps our attitudes and our behaviors, our general, and I'm saying our because as Nigerians, it's all of us together, this lack of control, this inability to control yourself, to behave even at the highest level, to understand what is appropriate and what is inappropriate, not by virtue of we are all friends here, but we are colleagues and we are working on legislation. The idea that any woman who gets attention from you by virtue of you all being a senator must be flattered, even within the workspace, is insane. The fact that you don't understand that if you're an older man working with a younger woman, it is not about whether your advances are welcome or not. It is about the fact that you have power. And you must be careful.
And there's a level, there's a appropriate
but you just don't
in that space.
But we, as a society, we don't grapple with the fact that there's some things that are not okay. From the family unit to school to work. So you build a career and nobody ever teaches you what is appropriate behavior. And then we live in a sexually repressed society that is obsessed with sex at the same time. And so we don't understand what boundaries are.
Yeah.
Uncles don't understand that there are things you don't say to young girls. There are things you don't mention in public because you need to learn to control your mouth and control yourself.
Yeah.
You don't know how to apologize. You don't know how to de-escalate situations. And that is how you get here. From the moment she's saying, I am not afraid of you, that is when you call the meeting.
Yes.
I'm saying, Natasha, it is not anything personal.
Yeah.
Because the optics of having this thing move publicly past this are not okay. What it says about us is not okay. But we've designed a society that doesn't understand. And that's why your own is too much. Particularly, you've traveled abroad, you've come back, you will not let us hear word. Oh, that's how they do things in your house. You will not let us hear word. Oh, at work. Why are you touching me like this?
Why are you commenting?
Why are you commenting on my outfit?
You know, people were commenting when they say, oh,
on your body.
It's the way they were doing to Bianca. Oh, beautiful this. And I'm just like, are you people okay?
You're saying they, but I think we need to also stress again that the person who made the comment that made people pause was the same Senate president.
He said, when he said, oh my baby, I said, a minister.
I mean, maybe this is they said that he's a jokester, he's a prankster.
That's what they said that they don't understand.
She doesn't know how to take.
Joking with somebody that is
that she's a jokester, that he's a jokester, that he's a funny, that because he likes to joke with us, maybe she does not know how to take a joke.
You know what?
But I appreciate that you said something you said that for me is we have a deep problem in Nigeria right now. And it's that there are no consequences for any bad actions.
Yeah.
I am a blocker. I call myself a blocker. It's because of my daddy I have this grace. If you're going one way, I'll block you. There's actually, unless I have a flight to catch, there's no way I need to go.
Yeah.
I will block you. And everybody, and you know, when you block people going one way, sometimes the people behind you shout at you, not them. There's so many bad actions that we go from childhood to adulthood that there's no consequence for. There was no consequence for so many actions in men's lives.
Yeah.
That you cannot actually expect somebody who's entitled, powerful, and rich to then believe that is now you want me to face consequences.
When they're the ones meant to be creating the consequences. The other thing is also just, for me, realizing that most people think it's not this situation in particular. So there was a lot of, I spoke to one or two guys and they were like, oh, when I heard the story, there was almost a sense from them of, is that all? And so to me, it is for a lot of Nigerians, what qualifies as harassment has to be so high. You hear people saying
it's actually assault. It's only assault that qualifies.
It's not rape. And I'm like, she didn't say he assaulted her. She said he harassed her. And because harassment is so normalized, you don't understand what it is.
To a degree, there's also the fact that vengefulness is understood as like normal in the workspace.
What do you mean? Oh, yes. Okay.
Somebody tries to toast you at work. Because this is the language that we understand. They toast you at work. You say no. Or you originally ignore. And you say no. And then over time, the person takes out their humiliation or their anger of your rebuffal by making your job difficult. But the generally understood thing is to wait it out because they'll get tired, right? And what people are annoyed about is that Senator Natasha did not wait it out. She did not try to appease him. She did not try to show how she's useful and important in other ways.
She's ungrateful.
She's ungrateful for the attention.
She's not begging. She's not cowering.
She didn't extend the flirtation and to get more out of it like everybody is supposed to do. You know, she didn't utilize bottom power.
There's a sense that she's not
She
smart.
didn't play the game.
She's not. Someone said
smart.
she's playing checkers, not chess. I say, okay, when you get there, play chess.
No, but I also think
because that time wasted is not considered a real thing.
Yeah.
Right. In immediately see. And I shit you not, immediately I saw that back and forth. My first instinct was that this man has spoken to this woman in a way that's inappropriate at best. She's probably said no, and this is punishment. Because if you are a one that's ever been in any similar situation,
you recognize it.
See, even as simple as a man calling you fine girl, you ignoring him.
Next thing
and he insults you. It is
next
not.
Thing. So
what
2
are we
minutes
pretending?
ago, you were trying to move to me. All of a sudden, I'm ugly. I'm an ashao. You're not even that fine. I have your type. Okay, why did you try and talk to me in the first place? We all know
and that
what
is just
it is.
a passing glance. If you ever walked in an office where somebody liked you ignored him, all of a sudden, they're just these small, petty things that just make your life a little bit more difficult. Keep moving it up.
Yeah.
To see. If you have any aunties that have worked in primarily male-dominated spaces and they've ever had to work in things like procurement or they've had to get quote-unquote deals done, speak to them about what it looks like for somebody to make a pass at you. You rebuff.
And all of a sudden, it has
gently
affected
as you
the core
possibly
of your
can.
work.
And you are punished for it at work. What that looks like. Because there is just not enough recourse. You can't go. A lot of them. That's almost. I think some of that intergenerational beef is. It comes from like that. Some of it is from that constant having to take it. But so who are you?
It's also because in our society, the shame belongs to the woman.
Always.
And so like and I think the reason why younger women or our generation have it slightly different is because for us, we have been unlearning that shame for a very long time. So if a man moves to me, like I have no shame.
Yeah.
And it took a long time to get here because I had internalized things about myself for so long. Like you grow up as a curvy babe and men are taught to see you as an object of desire and not a human being. And that gets worse the older you get. you enter certain spaces and you're not really a human being. You're an object of desire. And then you internalize that. You're like, what did I wear? Oh? How did I smile? Oh? They say I'm very flirty. And then I was giggling anyhow. And now you're internalizing that shame. But you have to work through it and be like, the shame is not mine. It is theirs.
Yeah. There's so many things.
And then, but you have a lot of older women, because the thing about it is that, do you want to come out and be the woman who was harassed? Because that's your name now. Do you want to be the woman who was raped? Do you want to be because I'm very lucky, and I know, because it's not a lot of people's experience, but a lot of people who have protected me in politics have been women, older women, who have decided, I'm backing you, I'm protecting you. Call me if anything. Like, even in National Assembly, the people who have helped me the most are women in the House, and they just take it, and they've taken it very seriously. Like, at least there's one woman who has taken it very seriously to protect me. And I know that's not a lot of people's experience, but they have had their own experiences. And that is part of why they are vigilant about protecting me. And it's also, but it's so rare. But it's also necessary. Because in this society that we live in, there's an idea that if anything happens to you as a woman, you hold that shame, you own that shame, it is your fault. And you go through what Senator Natasha has been through, whether you believe her or not, she has been victim blamed consistently since she opened her mouth. People are trying to talk about her baby daddies. People are saying, oh, her dressing. People are talking. And she covers. I cover. In Abuja,
Natasha talking about, Senator Natasha, for someone who is constant every time you see her in a scarf.
Out of her way to wear
cover herself.
Scarves and semi-shapeless Ankara.
Yes.
And this is Fendi fact. She's very hyper aware.
She knows
what it means to move in a certain space and try to what you want to be the most important is your voice.
Yes.
What you have to say.
Because she knows that if she dresses, that will become the point.
From day to day, you can tell what that man is going to wear.
You know.
Scarf, Ankara, red lipstick, and sunglasses.
And long sleeve. And she's, look, I'll tell you, she's doing that because of this
Have you seen her ankle?
No.
No. They're slut shaming a woman for dressing. Have you seen her elbow? Have you seen her ankle? No.
We have so long to
and the thing is that the person who posted that is Senator Akpabio's aide. And what did I say before we started recording? What did I say? The worst insults I have received in my life
are from aides.
I said it that my leader men are the worst group of men.
Because they hate women in a way that you will not understand. Because for them also, imagine like typical Nigerian, like typical misogynistic man who hates women, then sees somebody like me or somebody like Senator Natasha as a senator. She might be younger than the age.
Yeah.
And it's how dare she?
She didn't pay her dues.
She didn't pay her dues.
Carrying bags.
And that is also why her refusing to play the game is even more upsetting, because they have been playing the game for 30, 40 years. And they are still carrying back.
They themselves, even as men, they would cower to whatever he's asking immediately.
They've done it in different ways.
So they find it offensive that, wait, you're still speaking up. You've not gone to book a meeting to broker some sort of peace deal. How dare you? It's a lot of just, how dare you be the one to do this?
Yeah.
And I think more women need to
speak up.
Speak up also. But I think more women need to wake up every day and dare themselves.
They do.
Every day, dare yourselves, because we have to be aggressive about making this country better for ourselves, because it's not going to happen the way we have been playing this game.
Yes, it's not a natural occurrence. It's not an eventual occurrence.
It's not that the West, because a lot of people think the West, as they were, becoming more technology and whatever, then women got more power. No, those things were hard.
Look, everything we have now, it was not just hard for people. Look, people, for the rights we have now, people died, people suffered. It's not, you don't go and change doesn't come. People
push back. You push back. You push back. You push back and you push back hard. When I realized that she had, gone to court over this,
She didn't even go to court over this.
She went to court over the age.
She went to, and I think that's something that I really just want to stress, because that's a part of the narrative that they're saying that, it's already in court, so we don't need to investigate it. But she went to court over cyberbullying and defamation because of the aides saying that she's wearing transparent clothes, because the chief whip went on and said she has multiple baby fathers and multiple babies, that she's being defamed and she's being cyberbullied over lies about herself. She did not go to court over the sexual harassment. She went to court over defamation. Now the Senate is saying, because it's in the court, and also because Senator Akpabio's wife is suing her for defamation, that is not something they should investigate. But sexual harassment is not in any court. And that is also why they need to investigate. And you were saying something earlier, and I think also when we talk about women, because there's Senator Warala Eson, I don't know, I might be pronouncing it wrong, but she was in the Senate before women in Northern Nigeria were allowed to vote. And she was tackling Tafawa Balewa, and she was tackling them. And she would come onto the Senate floor and they say, in due time. And she was just like, when will the women in the North be given franchisement? You had Gambo Saba, who came down to Southwest to meet with Fumilayo and Sam Kuti. And she started at like age 14 or 15. She's known as the most arrested woman. They cut her hair. No, it's crazy. She was trying to get women the right to vote. That was her life legacy. And she used to actively go door to door. There's one time she was arrested and they barbed her hair with broken bottle. You need to understand that, like, even the rights we have now, as not many as they are, the women who fought for it, one, they worked together. But two, they fought hard. They fought very, very hard. It was in the Nigerian constitution that women in Northern Nigeria did not have the right to vote. They put it in the constitution. And so when we're moving on to this next stage, or I don't know if it's the next stage, because I'm seeing a lot of people get engaged in different ways. And we need to understand that the wearing pink or purple for breast cancer awareness, the doing hand signals, the
slogans, it's more than that.
It's not going to get us to where we need to go. And a lot of us have to decide that I am going to be uncomfortable, because the work is worth it. For me, that's the only thing that keeps me going.
I also do want to say something quickly. I think that there is this idea, it's not an idea, it's an attitude that, there are different classes and it's women, middle, lower class that will go and do the shouting.
And then the protesting
and blah, 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 blah. But one thing I found more when I actually started to think about this thing, like I said, we should be sitting down to think a lot more. And I realized something, that protests will happen about the state of women in a country, any country, pick a country. There'll be a pushback about something. There'll be sort of like a wave. And women will be out in the streets. And then when corporates start to panic, it is the women in those spaces that will quickly co-opt that movement and use it to their advantage. As is your right. It's true. You want to take advantage of, like, they said, there are not enough women in boardrooms.
This is now what I'm doing as my policy.
But you don't even want to speak. You don't even want to have the discomfort of speaking before we get down to money and like boots on the ground. You don't even want to have the discomfort or that uncomfortable conversation with the spouse's friends or your parents or your social circle, the powerful men in your social circle. You don't even want to speak at pertinent times, because
it's from the same room.
Do you believe it's worth it?
Of course.
Because we will co-opt it when it's time to benefit from it. And that will always be my problem.
100%.
My thing is, if it was that we are operating in silos, I 100% understand the silence.
You believe it's worth it?
But if you've gotten, if you've gotten to a level of what use is it?
Look, let me even tell you the thing.
I think that's the question.
About the speaking.
The question is it worth it?
I think you're right, because for a lot of them, they're looking at So I had a conversation with somebody who, frankly, I expected to speak up over this Natasha thing. And so I saw her somewhere. I said, just in. I said, sorry, Natasha, Senator Natasha, how far this one now? She now said, oh, she's focused on this, that, and she kind of works with women in this way. And I said, Auntie, sorry to say, respectfully, what you're saying, is it tracking? Does it add up? And all I was trying to say was, the point is, if none of you come out, and it's not really about Senator Natasha, but I was like, we all know what this thing is. This thing that is happening.
It's because Natasha is our Claudette.
Thank you.
Not Rosa Parks.
I said, God bless you. I said, if none of you, then what is the point of all these other things you're doing? Because I was like, it's very ironic. This weekend is Women's Day and you're all
having events and going to places.
You're all talking the talk. And I was like, for me, let me know, like, it's quite disappointing to me personally, who knows a lot of you personally, that you talk a big game. What does it cost you to say? And then there were so many different things about, different people's brands, different people, they don't speak on different political issues. There was so much ramara about it that I was just like, if I say more, it will veer into...
so get real personal up in here.
So I was just like, okay, lovely to see you. Say hi to your mom. I said, lovely, I will greet her. Thank you so much for it. But I was just like, it's so disappointing because if you can't collect all the women that have, money, have power, whatever, and just on this point, everybody knows that, maybe we're not doing the right thing because everybody is out. And there was even a lot of posturing. So I saw one woman who, again, she spoke, but what she said was so diplomatic that I said, we're finished. What she said, she gave one of those blanket statements that I said,
Do you know what's crazy? Is that they can all just decide, the least important thing is that they could have all just said, we're calling for, there needs to be an investigation.
Yeah,
that's the most basic thing.
That's the most basic
and that
thing.
he should recuse himself from, doing that. Like, because for me, I have this conversation with older women and I'm just like, there is no way this is the world you wish to bequeath us.
There isn't.
There is no way this is the world you wish to live for us, that you believe that we are going to thrive in. And you guys have more networking power, more organizational power, more economic power than we do. And there is no reason, actually. But you're not busy doing much. Prayer group, gardening, and lunch.
And I'm
no. It's true.
What are you guys
and they have
praying
a cause.
about?
One of my aunties said, oh no, but as a woman in society, because we come from a privileged class or something, you're a woman in society, you choose your cause.
So this is not her cause.
What is, you choose your cause. My cause.
Let me guess, her cause is education, children.
It's
girl child.
They love, look, there's nothing they love more than praying mothers. And I'm like, who are you praying for?
You choose your cause.
What world are they coming up in?
And you choose your cause.
They love a girl child.
They love a cute...
Then you empower her to get to this highest echelon of society.
When she gets to the highest echelon, look at what is happening to her. And I was just like, look, it's a farce if we think that, if at this level, even you people who have the privileges, who are in the room with these people, you can't even say it. I said, no. Because why do you want to outsource the work to people who are not there?
For me, it's just, I do want us to think deeply about how we are engaging with what is happening in Nigeria. Because again, if I've said sit down and think like 3 times. If you sit down and think properly, it is not exclusive to Nigeria. This is a global thing. Women experiencing, kind of like watching in very high society, like a pushback on what our place is meant to be, how we're meant to be treated, and what we're supposed to accept. It is a global thing, right? And I just wish we understood this is not a cause. It's your life.
It's your life.
It's not a cause. This is a life.
See what you're saying about sit down to think. I was telling my friend that, if you just think about something, because there was a lot of debate about who is lying, is it true, is it not true? And I said, let me not lie to you. That's actually not the point.
Yeah.
Do you know what it is for number one? Them to say it's not even worth investigating. So even discover who is lying, who is not lying, number one. Number two, for your accuser to sit and metal out punishment to you.
I said, Senator Ahmed Lawan said, let's not remove her security.
I mean,
This a bad president. And Senator Akpoti is laughing and talking about car.
Do you understand?
And how he has a new car, Senate president. Did Lawan keep car? But I like that you said that it is a global thing, because I was talking to an elder statesman and he said, this thing, allegation. Maybe they were alligating that's Trump's pick. Abi said, what did they say that one did? And I was like, it wasn't just an allegation. The House Ethics Committee investigated. He had sex with his 17-year-old. But we've had a sitting, was a member of House or Senator, marry a 12-year-old.
Yeah.
No, they corrected that she was 13 actually.
Okay, sorry. Okay, that was so much better.
Yeah.
And so like there's a thing of that our moral compass is different from this. And this idea, because I was very pained by this normalization actually of the subjugation of women, of violence against women that has also happened in America. Because sometimes we say, what's your business there? But I'm like, America is to send a moral signal, whether it was fake or real. And they also respond to it. Because they're saying that even in America,
once you hear that,
even in America,
once you hear that, you know that we're not getting far.
I'm like, that doesn't make it, like, it's evil there, it's evil here. But the idea is that now this evil has been normalized. And I think this entrenchment of evil is why it is so painful. Before I came here this morning, I was looking at the front pages. I go through newspapers every day. And Punch front page is there's a woman who's been killed and her boyfriend is missing. Last week, as you said, there was a woman who they said was killed for not cooking on time.
For iftar.
On time.
Yeah.
There was a woman who was killed in Benin City. There's so many cases of these things that it exhausts you.
Yeah. Last year, one of the most jarring things, was it last year or 2 years ago? One of the most jarring things I'll never forget. There's a friend I speak to regularly, calls me, we're talking in the morning, morning. By afternoon, I shit you not. He tells me that his brother gets to work and then the police come to arrest somebody in his brother's office. That the guy killed his wife that morning. Do you know that I couldn't understand what he was saying, that they had an argument and the guy killed his wife and came to work. And I think that's like the closest in a long time of like that kind of
just directly in your
interpersonal,
face.
like a domestic dispute that ends in tragic violence. Like a woman was killed by her partner, her husband. That's the closest, because I'm reading it every day. Yeah. Every day.
My mom worked in magistrates courts and family courts. My mom was a psychologist. And so she was there there was a lot of children, but sometimes wives and stuff. And she was so shaken. She was not okay. That job made her just not really be okay with everything that was going on in the world. And there were certain cases that stuck with me. And I remember there was a case of a man who locked his wife in the dog cage with a dog.
Sorry?
For days on end. And he would take his kids in the morning before they go to school to greet the wife. It's the driver that saved her. They said actually that he would go to work and the driver, I believe the driver testified that he would open the cage and say, "Ma, please come out." She was too scared to come out. So he went to her brother and said, "They will kill your sister. Please come and take her." She was in a dog cage for days on end. There are women who are surviving, but what they are surviving is even worse than hell.
Yeah.
And you think about, what does that do to the people in the house?
What does that do to the psyche
of the children? And also, what type of person can keep their wife in a dog cage? Just a few weeks ago, there was a woman who was trying to jump and kill herself. Her husband was in the house with his family, the children, and his was his second wife or side piece or something.
Side babe.
And there is an idea that there's a general feeling sometimes, and I can't imagine, because we don't know actually. There are women who have gone through such unspeakable things. And so that is also why they respond to Senator Natasha Akpoti like this, because they just feel like,
Is that all?
Yeah. And for me, I find it just this thing, honestly, to me is very jarring, this whole, because I keep asking myself, I don't know if we realize what this means. I don't know if we realize
and
what
the
this means.
precedents were setting.
I don't know if we realize the precedence is set across the board because we're all seeing it play out at the highest level. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And I hate that people need the stories to be this violent to respond. They need it to be the woman was kept in a cage. She was killed. Her husband to be like, there's violence against women. And I'm like, but this is violence against women. This is it. And it is playing out in front of our faces. And people are sort of watching it like a telenova.
And the Senate says that she does not have the right to go to court, even though our Constitution says that the Senate is going to be bound.
When I saw that they said she
court.
should not call herself a senator, I said somebody who fought and won an election, you're telling me?
It's I think for me also, right, because one of my major problems with Nigeria is that we diminish institutions to protect individuals.
Yeah.
And
it's really hard to go back.
And it is impossible. I have not seen
because
one
once
go back.
They've done this like this.
I have not seen
look,
one
it
go
has
back.
become a circus because they're going to keep, if you've done this punishment
once
at
you
this
lower
level,
the institution for the person,
it's then because it's like Saraki came out and said, please, this is not about Natasha, this is not about Kwabi, this is about the institution. And a lot of people think like, again, this is a funny thing. You're speaking English. Sometimes people message me and they say, oh, this English you're speaking, is it statistics will chop? That you're saying, oh, is it the law? You are talking about, I was quoting the law and somebody messaged me and said, you are quoting law like you don't live in Nigeria.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
Because look, when you have to say that because at the highest level, they showed you this is a lawless place. The Senate is discounting just rule of law. Forget even rule of law. Basic human ethics. They've discounted everything to say, you know what, we're going to do whatever we want. And I just keep saying, do you know this thing that they didn't even bother to investigate it and lie to us. When people don't rate you, there's no need. They don't care. And people are supporting them.
I think, Sha, for me, this shows me one thing, which is that as a woman, it's best to be mad.
It's best to.
It's best to have
because
Chris.
Let me tell you something.
If she did not have Chris, we wouldn't be talking about this.
It would be one of the normal things where she would have even apologized to him.
Which is what they're waiting for her to do.
Yeah, they are. And because they know she's going to suffer. Yeah. Either way. Even when she gets back in, people are not thinking about it. Even if and when she gets back into the house, if the court decides, you know what, this is illegal, just imagine what it is when she gets back and she's trying to raise another motion.
Man, I must give it up to Senator Natasha Akpoti for being a woman of steel. That woman is strong.
Backbone like
she has been fighting since.
No. I was physically shaken by when the senators were laughing and she was in chambers. Her voice didn't break. And I don't know how she managed to, you know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Maintain that because there is something very undignifying about the laughter in that red chamber.
Yeah.
I think for me, that was one of the worst parts is that this is a joke to them.
It was the laughing and the not letting her speak was so jarring to me. She kept saying, and they just kept ignoring her. And I just thought, she's a senator.
If you see the video where she's even speaking, you see some of them sitting in front and just laughing and having conversation like nothing is happening.
Even the aides that sit in, kind of like, this dismissive.
Yes.
Like, let her be talking. You know, like that attitude of, let her be shouting there, please.
Yeah.
Also, we have things that we're saying. I don't know. It's been very disheartening. We actually didn't get. I don't even know because I'm trying to find. Now that we started talking about serious things, I'm looking at these dilemmas and they are pissing me off because it's all joke things.
Anything that's.
But I do want to give a really big shout out to two women that at least
they tried. They tried.
A good or basically and Iri Lufa. I think. Let me be frank. The first time I met Iri, I was very skeptical. I knew her in the context of being married to a politician. So I didn't know about her feminist history at all. I did not know of her at all in that context. And so I think I was somewhere and she spoke. And I had a very grudging because she's about, let me just say she's about it.
She's about it. So
she's about it.
And she backs
down.
it.
And honestly, if you don't kind of have, I think if you read her article, It is a fantastic summary of just what is going on and how ridiculous it is, especially
and she
the
did
women's
what
stance
you've
on
been
it.
asking people to do, which is sit down and think.
She did.
So we spoke a little bit, and then she finished her speech, and then we spoke, and she had questions for me, and basically the subtext of the questions was like, the subtext of our conversation was, the only thing that was left for her to do was to hold my shoulders and shake me and basically just say, look, you are in charge of your own life. Because I think I gave her the impression, because that's where I was mentally at the time, that a lot of my life is happening to me. And a lot of that has to do with the fact that I'm a Nigerian woman living in Nigeria, and she had this very stringent, almost like, and it then gave context to a lot of the stuff I'd like heard or read about her. There's a lot of stuff written about how she's nosy, she's bossy, she controls her husband. The context was she doesn't keep quiet. She has too many ideas, etc. And I do have the way I feel about Nigerian politicians in general, her husband included. But I do admire a woman who backs her beliefs.
And she also backs her beliefs with cash.
And stands 10 toes
funds
down.
A lot of women issues.
Stands 10 toes down on her ideas and her ideology. And I really, really admire the fact that in the ways that she can, again, so that's why I said I understand what it is to be a Nigerian woman in certain spaces. You understand the consequences. But there are some things that you decide are just
they're more important,
too big a cost to bear morally.
Yeah.
It is not worth my whatever advantage I get is not worth silence in the face of such a huge injustice.
Yeah.
Like, it is not, there's no politics that is worth playing. If I have to hold myself out, like if I have to count myself out of being honest about this particular situation, it is not worth whatever I think I'm doing. Because it's going to meet me in front in multiple ways. So I really think those two women are people I thought at least somebody is saying something. And I really hope a lot of us are thinking about it, like honestly and genuinely, in spaces where, all these, I'm a pastor's kid. So I always say that one of the hardest things that can happen to you is growing up in church in a very specific way. Because you see humanity in a way that, for lack of a better word, they're just like, do you know what? Wow, guys. All these, women leaders in church.
Okay.
That they have so much to say about the role of women and what God has to say about women.
All of a sudden, it's not
feminism.
Their business.
And they speak, that they're plugged into the culture because week on week, their talking points are driven by some of these cultural conversations. Not a peep.
Nothing.
Not a word.
Nothing.
I think it is shameful. I have to say, I want to use, it is shameful. You should be ashamed.
It is.
And of your cowardice.
Honestly, I hope that anybody that is around women of influence or power, I hope you are making them feel shy. I actually hope so, because at some points we have to all sit down and be honest about, are you sure about the stance you're taking on this? Boys and girls, please, we've come here today with a request. We've come to beg you. We are on our knees.
Yeah.
Don't forget that we're sitting down. Just imagine it with your mind. Please, they say, you people, you always ask us for many things. Like now, Beyonce won a Grammy. They said, have her on the podcast. Okay, no, good and fine. But how do we want to have her when you don't want to subscribe? You don't want to share the podcast? You don't want to download? What are the other things they do again?
Everything.
Follow, what again? Comment and what again?
Everything.
All the things.
Just do what you're supposed to do.
Do the things and then we'll have Beyonce. Very simple.
Yeah.
Okay?
I even made a song. Do you want to hear my song?
That's not the video we're doing right now. Okay, go ahead.
It matters. Because I need to clear my throat. Let me make sure that is in order.
You don't remember the song?
No, I want to make sure it's in order.
Of what?
Like, share, subscribe, and comment if you're not a bastard, because it's important. That's another song.
That's the whole song.
That's the whole song.
Okay, there's no chorus, hook,
no need.
Bridge.
You know, I'm somebody that I like to be brief, succinct. Tell them what to do. Let them get it in one go. See, you are talking. I did one line. But yeah, guys, you know what to do.
Please.
Yeah.
Do all the
it's
things.
important.
It's important.
It's important.
And then
they want Beyonce to come to a podcast with 40,000 subscribers.
Thank you. When you people will not subscribe. See,
lunatics.
Sometimes you really upset me. Because we're going up and down. Oh, we're the biggest. Only for you to open there, we don't have up to 40,000 people. What's it? What's the essence?
All right, guys, enjoy the rest of the episode.
Don't let us be disgraced as a community, please. Please, don't let us be disgraced, please.
You know, I agree with you guys, particularly when it comes to these women leaders in the corporate world, in the religious world, when it comes to the women who are key makers in our culture. I don't hold the same thoughts on women who are currently in government.
Okay.
And it is because their situations are a bit more dire. I know that I am entirely sure that there are women who are publicly silent, who are trying their best to privately support Senator Natasha Akpoti, which is also why I have a lot of words for Senator Ireti Kingbe, because she's actually also the only woman who's currently in government, to my knowledge, except for Senator Remi Tinubu, who has come out to speak out against her. Publicly. And I think that says a lot. Because you have multiple women who have chosen to stay silent. And I think their calculus is a bit different. And they're like, it's really like, that's why the Senator Olujimi one for me was really, it was shaking me. I was watching her and I was like shaking because I'm just like, I've spoken to this woman and so this is so confusing to hear these words come out of her mouth. And Senator Olujimi was kicked out of Senate by Senator Adamodu, who also went to Arise to speak, right, about, and I'm just like, as you said, there's an opportunity here.
There is.
You're playing an old game. Because there's an opportunity here with that. The person who's coming out here and speaking out against Senator Natasha is the person who beat you in your last election. As a woman, there's an opportunity here.
There's a huge opportunity for you to
as a politician that understands what optics are in any way, there's an opportunity here. I don't know.
It's a shame. They've all missed it. And it's just, for me, it's so reflective of just people in general and what is going on. Because I'm just like, the more, not even that going on, the more I just engage people and just see what people are saying, I'm just like, look, mindset-wise, where we're starting from is so far behind that it's kind of unbelievable.
But we can't do how we've been doing and saying. Because that's why I kept asking, is it worth it? Because a lot of people don't believe it's worth it. That's why young people don't get into politics. That's why it's looked down upon when women get into politics. Like, I remember, I know a woman who was shamed, right, for running. And they're just like, I mean, your husband is doing well at your big age. You now say you want to enter politics. And they say, maybe she's doing this, maybe she's doing that. Like, she was shamed, right? And for us, like, and for any woman listening, because I honestly, I beg people all the time. And I'm just like, I'm not gonna lie to you and say, oh my God, this is gonna be so much fun. But we need to aggressively access these spaces. And we need to know that there is a cost. For a lot of people, the calculus is just, is it worth me bearing this cost for the sake of Nigeria or for the sake of progress? And I hope that a lot of people conclude yes.
But
Because the other people who think the cost is maybe their pride or they have no shame, because a lot of these people have no shame, have no pride, have no ego, and so they thrive in this environment. But for us, especially women, we have to just...
When you have a lot to lose, you have to then start thinking about it a bit differently. But at the end of the day, it's just like what you're saying. If that room was filled with 35 women, it would have been a very different matter at play.
If it was Ireti Bakare Yusuf instead of Ireti Kingigbe, we would have had a different outcome. If you had more Wala Eshos or Gambo Sawabas or Fumiari Ransom Kutis, and I'm saying Nigerian women because we don't need to go to Rosa or anything.
We have Rosa Parks here. You don't need
like, if you had more of those people, which is what a guest said, if you have more of those women in those spaces, the outcome becomes different. And I also think, because, there's also something that you do is you signal as a woman. Because I also think part of why there are allegations that have come out before from her is that you also signal that, well, Amy, I'm not playing the same game. If you come and harass me, I will talk.
Yeah.
And I think it's a signal thing, right? It's like with me now, I signal. My own signal is anybody asks me, I just say, my daddy used to wear a shirt that says Benin Rascal. The man is mad. Though. He's mad. My daddy is mad. And we talk every day. I wake up, we say good morning.
Just don't try me.
But also, some people will still try. But there's also a signal of like there is a protection that comes from being married or from you know, being in a privileged class or whatever. Also, sometimes I just say, chairman sends me here because my chairman is a signal. I'm gonna write.
All these things are signals. If she was single, this thing would have been 10 times worse.
But the fact that you have to do these signals are bad. But I also just think that it's necessary. But we need more women in this space, and we need more like-minded women who take the weight off of the ones who are there right now.
That's what I was going to say. That
you have to share that pressure.
I would like more women in these spaces, but I would also like more women who kind of are thinking in not a backward direction.
But most of them don't make it. Look at the other two senators. One was Ambode's deputy. The other one was Wike's deputy.
Yeah, it's a tough time.
You look at the women in the house. You have SGF's wife, the governor's daughter, ex-governor's daughter. Like, that is, for the most part,
how it is.
That's how it is. So...
And to be honest, look, I understand people also not wanting to go into politics in particular because it stains your whites. It stains your whites in a very, very specific way. It's hard. You have to be in the muck. You know, there are muddy waters everywhere.
Yeah.
There are muddy waters everywhere. There's a lot of, but it just, if you're that way inclined, you kind of just, I don't know what else our solution is.
It's okay for your whites to be stained. That's what I realized.
Fair.
It's okay for your whites to be stained.
Fair.
You actually have to decide. Like, I realized something that it's like, if I know the truth about myself and a circumstance, then I can withstand a lot because, as in, why should I be disturbed by the lie? My cousin told me one day, right? Because, you know, I was like, oh my God, this is and this. Somebody's messaging me, abusing me. I said, if a madman comes up to you on the road now, would you be ruminating on his words?
Yeah, on what they're saying.
Would you go and sit there and be like, wow, this madman said this thing about me? So he was like, honestly, it can be a madman with a computer. It can be a mad person with it. Because I get a lot of hate comments. And especially on TikTok. And it's mostly, and I say mostly, it's like 98% men.
Yeah.
And most of them are older than me. Like, and you see one baba somewhere in his TikTok account and he has decided that I'm a fool and I must know, and he'll send me 18 comments telling me I'm a fool. Sometimes men will DM me and they say, you were not smiling on air this morning. There's so many things, right? Or somebody messaged and said, do you know that you are dark and you are still wearing dark color?
Huh?
Somebody now replied and said, if you come for a child of... It was a Benin person said, if you come for a daughter of this... He said, that's my Benin sister. If you come for her again, that yes, she's dark, okay.
We're honestly fighting
so many battles.
There are actually so many battles.
But you have to... So, and for me, I weigh them the same.
Yeah.
I weigh them the same. The same person, I have to weigh the same. Somebody's abusing me because I'm dark. Somebody's saying I'm mad.
It's all the
Somebody's
same,
saying, you're a young woman, you're here for this. I have to weigh them the same because it comes from the same thing.
It comes from the same place.
It's from the same place. But you can't internalize it.
No.
So if
you internalize it, you actually can't go anywhere.
If they stay in your wife, are you naked?
Fair, you're still wearing sure.
You are still wearing clothes. And the people who are staying in your wives, are they wearing white?
Still wearing. It's just like what you're saying, the paths are a lot more difficult for people who are you just want to come into it like from scratch. You're not. But again, at the end of the day, it's also, you see, it's many things. Even the ecosystem of getting women in politics has to also improve. Yeah. Because you need backing.
There needs to be political party reform.
You need it. You need it. People don't just enter politics and walk into that place. They have backers. They have backers not just politically, with money.
But that's also why I don't understand why our big women are not backers.
Our big women are jokers. That's why. Because it's not important to them. They don't see the point many times. That's just the truth of the matter. They don't actually see the point. a lot of them are not thinking. Look, it's not even rich women, our rich people in general. See, America, look at all the institutions built by Rockefeller Foundation, Kiniko, all the things that exist now.
Carnegie.
Which of the foundations now are doing more than, okay, they've done so in empowerment here. They did bid making tomorrow. It's a farce, and they're whining themselves, and us too. How many of them are championing that you can see that, okay, this person has done so much in this space? So
legacy.
Our rich people, they don't give a damn about legacy. They don't. They're not interested in it whatsoever. So before you even get into general legacy, you now even get into somebody that's facing politics. They will be here for quite a minute. It's just the people doing the work are also not even enough.
But there are lots of people doing the work, and they exist. And I think there needs to be more support, more funding.
Yeah.
I remember when I said I was going to National Assembly, some people were like, isn't that not becoming for a lady of your stature? I was like, yeah, like aunties are just being like, I don't understand. Are they going to let you?
You're going to realize the seat of power that is.
But that's very... Those people are not serious. What are you going to go and report?
Sorry, guys. I actually can't find anything that won't sound silly.
We don't have to.
Yeah.
It's all these things that if you leave it...
I'm not... You see, this is good. Because I told you people that I'm
bad at
advice. I'm bad at advice. So
I was just saying that all these things we always say, that if you leave everything to the types of people that politics attracts in this country, we'll continue to be here. So this one we're always saying of, people of a certain educational social class, they don't like it, they don't want to do this. They were like, okay, now then you complain this person is an illiterate, this person did not go to school. But that's who we've left it for.
Yeah.
We left it for.
I do think just, again, like I said, and we've said multiple times, this is more than just a weird thing happening in Senate, a lot of the common excuses are saying is that, they are all rubbish anyway, let them kill themselves there if they like, blah, 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 blah. Sure. I mean, if that's the line you want to, no problem. But it goes beyond that. There is something happening, and if we kind of take it lying down, it doesn't bode well for our lives. And people get their moral compass from somewhere. People understand what's acceptable by what we see in society. So there's a reason why there's this idea of you have to hold yourself to a certain standard once you get to a certain age, once you move through a certain socioeconomic bracket, once you attain a certain position, there is behavior that you're supposed to at least have the image
of having.
Yeah.
And what is happening at the moment is setting a new lower standard, for what is acceptable in like Nigerian public life.
It's so fascinating because a lot of times, like when I get worked up about things, because I genuinely care. And a lot of times people think it's so cute, so naive, and so childish. And I
think we're also idealists.
Yeah, and I genuinely care. And I remember and a lot of people are like, is Nigeria or is Africa? And I remember I was talking to one of my co-hosts on Bad Natives, and he has been a journalist in Uganda, and he had to flee Uganda because of Museveni. And so now he's in Kenya, and so he knows about Africa and it's bad and this, and he's covered the DRC and all these things. But when I told them that people were bringing generator to government hospitals, or families of ICU patients were sharing what they will buy petrol, diesel for the generator, you could not believe it. They started fact-checking me. Yeah. They said, no. I said, because I was
even though you've seen bad, you've not seen.
I was like, there's so many levels in Nigeria that you get here and you say this is the bottom, and you find out there's basement.
There's lower than that.
Then there's gutter under there, then there's sockaway. Where is the sockaway?
No, we are. Because I keep saying that I'm always disappointed in myself when I allow Nigeria to surprise me. Like what happened this time. I'm always like, okay, why do you keep getting shocked when you know that we are, as in we're in the mud?
You have to.
I do want to say that, it's not as if we really have solutions. But at the very least, speaking of...
That's what I was going to say.
And figuring out what groups are mobilizing and how to help at the very... that's just lowest. That actually doesn't take that much energy.
I have a question. So, and I've been pondering this question the whole time. What can we do? Obviously, this is something that we're doing. We're using our platform in this way. And, people will debate it for good or for bad and whatever. But I've been asking myself that, apart from the talking up, is there anything that I can do?
Yeah.
Okay.
One, well, there are going to be protests from tomorrow in front of National Assembly. Tomorrow is Tuesday. I don't know, this will come out after.
But come out Wednesday.
Come out Wednesday, yeah. There's going to be protests in support of Senator Natasha. One of the women who's organizing it spoke about her experience with somebody tried to sexually assault her. And I think that's part of the motivation. And also just the lack of investigation, I think, is very jarring for lots of people. So there are going to be protests. But I always tell people, pick up a party card. It's like 2K. Join APC, join PDP, join Labour Party. You might not have to believe, right, in whatever. Go to ward meetings. It takes time. It has a cost. But everything worth doing is hard. Like, it is hard work, but pick up a card, join a party, fund, these initiatives, fund women politicians from the local government level all the way to the top.
Fund pressure groups. And because I think like a lot of people don't think it's worth it because they haven't seen results. But like for me also, it's a long game. I understand why I'm doing what I'm doing, but it is a long game. But I think people who are listening who can fund, if you can sign petitions, if you can go out for the protests, if you can call or message your reps member, their numbers are online. I just remembered I can't remember what it was. I think it was something happened and there was like my senator's number was out there and they were like, just call. If you don't know what to say, just call. Say you're calling on behalf of this and you want to know where they are. And I just thought people will call. And I was like, actually, I should call. I called and the woman on the phone was so weary. She said, I'm not lying to you. We've taken at least 300 calls this morning, ma. We're working on it. Please. Please, ma. Please, we're working on it. And I said, why do you sound tired? Aren't you used to taking phone calls? Is that not your job? She said, let me not lie to you, no.
They don't do it.
She actually said no.
She said no. Like, America, England, that they always like call your rep. You don't do it.
You can also, if you're unhappy with a member that represents you, you can recall them.
Yeah.
The only person constitutionally empowered to remove a senator and say a senator can no longer call themselves a senator is their own constituents, right? It's their own people. They can recall them. And I think for me, especially calling, because a lot of people are like, these people don't care. That's why they don't even care to pretend and stuff. They do care. One thing I have realized is that there is an underlying fear. Yeah. They feel like it's a delicate dance. They care. They care how they're perceived. They care if they're trending.
Yeah.
They care how you report on issues.
This is just random. But someone I know kind of had an altercation with a family member. And the thing that changed the family member's mind was screenshots. They're on their high horse, going back and forth. Send screenshots and see what they're saying about you. And the shock. Because the understanding is I'm well-liked.
Yeah.
And I'm popular.
Because they're surrounded by sycophants.
Yes,
of course.
And you're surrounded by people who... And I think it also warps their mind in a way we can't understand. Because...
You're surrounded by people who will never tell you the truth.
There are people who are calling them daddy.
Forget that. See, we're talking about it in a far-off way. Because you have to go soon. You're talking about it in a far-off way. I've said this many times. My dad is a firstborn son. He's a pastor. And he was in a certain class of accountants that kind of were able to, once Obasanjo sort of freed up the banking and finance system, they were the ones who are able to take advantage of it in a certain type of way. Not to the max, but those are his colleagues. He believes what he says in many ways. He's a firstborn in his house, right? So they listen to him in his house. And then he's a pastor. So people listen to him. And then my dad has done really, really well in his field. So people listen to him. I see how shocked he is when I give him feedback that he doesn't like. Because very often when he's asked me, he's asked other people But he's asked those people that listen to him.
Yeah.
And it is very rare for them to say, uncle or oga or sir,
This
I don't
isn't the
think
right
so.
thing, sure.
So how much more politicians?
Yeah.
You don't get the truth. There's a politician I had a hot argument with. I'll never forget. I had a hot back and forth with this man. And the first thing he asked his aide, is she opposition? I said, are you shitting me? Has nobody told you the truth?
Do you not interact with reality? And they
so I had to
don't.
ask this aide, who is it? Somebody I'm friendly with. I said, sorry, why don't you guys tell? He said, when you want to tell Oga these things, there's a way you do it. So it has to happen first in this way. And then when the mistake happens, that we can make a slight correction. So slowly but surely.
Yeah.
I said, oh no, I'm so sorry.
I had a meeting with somebody. He said, oh, I did not know, because I said something about him. And he said, I did not call him first. I said, I was analyzing the news.
The matter.
You were the matter. I said what I said.
Yeah.
Said, how can you not call first? And and then there was a serious argument. There was a back and forth because it now became family matter over. But you know. I said, okay, I should go and apologize. So I went there. Obviously, I don't apologize. And I said, but this is why I said what I said. Did I lie? Did I misrepresent what happened?
Yeah.
And he said, I could have given you other context. And I said, it's best you don't. Because there's another thing that happens to our aides and stuff. They'll come and be arguing with you. And because they have one context, if you know that then what happened was, I don't need that context. I don't need that context. I need you to act in a way where I do not require some hidden knowledge to understand what's going on here. This is what the budget says. They say you are taking 180 million naira to buy car tire. I don't need any context
to understand that. I think
I don't need any context to understand that.
Because a lot of people, even on this Senator Natasha thing, are doing this context game of, and I'm like, see, fundamentally, like I said, it's not about the story, whether you believe it or not. The level of injustice of somebody in the Senate made an accusation. The person they accused is the one punishing them. The people that are supposed to look into it have decided that they cannot look into it. That is all that is here. That's all that is here. Forget your deeper meaning, your deeper context of who she is, the husband, the friend. Because I'm like, people are qualifying all these things to try and make the story make sense. And I'm like, no. On a basic level, look at what is going on.
A plus B equals C.
That is it.
I think for me, that was very scary. Because also, you have people now who are involved in politics where every position is a platform. The Senate president allegedly wants to be vice president. Senate president is a platform.
Yeah.
The senator from my state, Oshomole, allegedly wants to be Senate president. So that's
now. I remember that year it was when that cargo was one ugly shoe. He was marching and singing those his nonsense songs that year.
You see the person
now. If you see the Italian suits,
smooth. The person in House of Reps allegedly wants to be a senator.
All of
the
them
minister allegedly wants to be a governor. Everything na platform. Everything na interest.
There's no interesting.
Then the essays in court. Even like Firemi that we've spoken about,
from them to their team, to get somewhere.
People who have been his essays and chief of staff in National Assembly now, both spokesman for the House of Reps, Honorable Akinrotimi, and the spokesman for the Senate, Senator Adaramodu, worked for him as aides.
So it's all like it's all a platform.
Do you anger the person you're working for who can take you there?
You can't. You won't.
And so that's why there needs to be more of us. But they don't take, I think they think that everybody is opposition because, again, that's the work they do.
I think they must be
surprised. Every protest is sponsored because that's the work they do.
Senator Natasha has any support at all, actually.
And they say we're emotional women.
Must blood busting.
They've not seen emotion.
Can I also point out that someone else has also accused this man of sexual harassment?
And she said she slapped him. She said, I'll never forget the interview. She said, before they go say, she said, and I slapped I slapped him. What's her name? Joy Nunez.
MD of
He just announced that his lawyers will see her soon. I say, okay, now.
She said, I'm a Port Harcourt girl. We don't take that. And
so we work with one, so we know context. Let's just
so basically what happened was
paint some color.
The MD of the NCDC alleged that at the time
NDDC.
What was he at the time?
Minister. I think it was Minister for NDDC.
crazy. But she alleged that he was also sexually harassing her. And she gave him a dirty slap.
And I think it's crazy, actually. The craziest thing is that in his defense, Senator Akpabio stood up in front of women who work in the National Assembly and said, look at all these women there. He said, was it beautiful or attractive?
He said, did I harass you?
Did I harass you?
Did I harass you? Oh, they said no. They're giggling. They gave him a plaque that...
He for she.
No, the aides of the Senate that he has not harassed them. They just want to point that out.
Stupid bunch.
Said,
giggling.
Please
and
be advising your relatives.
It's very important, actually, and I'm just going to say this as a journalist who has sources, has seen certain emails. Yes. Senator Akpabio said something important. He said, I have never sexually harassed any woman. Joe women. If you have been waiting to speak,
they've opened the door up for you, honey. This is your time.
It is. I just think it's imperative that we, again, think about what is happening and what we're doing. But thank you so much. So much, Adesuwa.
A lovely one.
I'm probably going to have you back. You guys, Adesuwa is a history buff. Like, that's her thing.
Today was obviously a serious thing, but that dilemma you're running from,
we'll do it. And then we'll talk about history and other things, some really exciting things. Yes. I really do think, I don't know when this year, because it's also just quite difficult to get people's calendars aligned. But there's a professor of like women's studies that I think would be really cool to have. And
both
also not both of them, but for a different thing, her and Mrs. Fayemi. Like when you read some people's feminist work, I'm like, is this you? I didn't know you were. One of my friends saw me somewhere and said, oh, I didn't know you were an ally. Are you nuts? Have you lost your mind?
Wait, I like it.
I didn't know you were an ally. I said, okay, babe.
Anyway, whatever it takes. And this has catch your flight.
Yes. So. Thank you guys so much for listening.
Thanks for having me. Adesuwa.G on Instagram and TikTok. Adesuwa_G on Twitter. And Untold Stories.
Yes.
With Adesuwa. On YouTube, everywhere.
Everywhere. All right, guys, please, before we get to do all the things normally, like, subscribe, whatever. But more importantly, if you are a Nigerian woman,
please.
If you are a Nigerian who cares about what is going on, please look for the numbers of your senators and House of Reps members.
It's on, so for your House of Reps members, it's on greenchamber.ng. All their phone numbers are listed there.
Yeah.
Lovely.
Let's start sending emails. Let's start asking questions. Let's find the organizations. Let's find out what,
especially if you're represented by a woman as well.
No, I'm actually going to say the opposite, especially if you're represented by a man.
Fair enough.
The women have more pressure. Yeah. I think we need to put pressure on the men.
Yeah, so
there's more of them.
Ask how your senator voted.
Call them. Ask your reps that what's happening?
What are you doing?
Where are you?
Is this what you're using? Is this what you're using my money to do? You know what your parents
would... Okay, now that we voted for you, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Yeah.
What are you doing there?
Because they think we don't care.
Yeah.
They actually think we don't care.
If you're on TikTok, make a video, use the hashtags. Like all that stuff matters.
Let's just get it out. Well, it's out already, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Make your displeasure known. Yes. If we continue.
Let's be clear, you're unhappy. Make it clear that what they're doing is wrong and you're unhappy.
They might notice.
They already know.
Shame might catch one or two people. They might start.
Yeah, they'll backtrack real fast. They're not. These people are not brave. They're cowards at heart. Yeah. They just want to take advantage of the system.
Everything said here was allegedly. And please,
very alleged.
Let nobody. My alarm has gone off. Let nobody collect my pass. It's not me that call anybody coward. It's Jola.
Yes,
Jola has her own opinion.
I did true.
Because I work at National.
No, don't worry. You are allegedly.
I called you big cowards.
Because if they remove my pass, there's no constitution to help
and
me.
Also clowns.
Are you telling me that they want to take the access of a young woman?
A young woman
to speak the truth?
There's a reporter, please. It's like you people don't have enough problems.
They don't want to go the freedom of the press. You don't want this smoke.
You actually don't want this smoke. That's just the truth of the matter.
All right,
but
guys.
Please, pay attention. All these things mean something.
It means
I think
a big
this
deal.
is a big deal, and I would really like for us to regard it as a big deal. It is a big thing that is going on, and you should concern yourself. We said if you're a young woman. Also, if you're a young man, just try and use it to have sense. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Just, help
And if you're an
yourself
old
out.
woman, please, I think this is a come to Jesus moment.
Please.
This is a come to Jesus moment.
It is. Decide who you want to be. If you're a young woman near older women, advise them not to disgrace you or themselves in the public sphere, especially. So let's do what we can, These are things that are going on. Let this Women's Month not just be for picture taking and poster, please.
All right.
And there's policy that's moving through NAS for women's equity that you guys should focus on.
Yes.
Because I think another thing is, and I know that's part, I'm so sorry.
No, go ahead.
But I know this is part of my work as a correspondent, but there are actually laws and policies that have gone through NAS that we need to focus on. Gender equity bill. The senator who first apologized on behalf of Senator Natasha for her outburst is the same senator who tried to repeal the Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act. We need to pay attention to the work they are doing when it comes to the policies that they're taking. Then after that, we have to now make sure they actually implement those policies. There was a sexual harassment in universities bill. Well, there's one that had been passed, but there's a updated one that went through NAS and passed. Sorry, went through House of Reps and passed, but it's hanging in the Senate.
Yeah.
So we need to also be vigilant about what they are working on and pressure them to push those things. Member of the House, Honorable Kapilas Ogbara, has been pushing a lot of women's issues, including trying to build homes for people who are victims of violence that are publicly funded.
What did you say her name is?
Kafilat Ogbara.
Okay.
You see, girl, hear her.
All right.
See, now we're giving you all the information. Let's try and get engaged. What is the
And please don't look at, this person is APC, this person is LP, this person is PDP. Because there are people who are working.
This person is useful, this person is useless.
This person is useful because you need to understand that the parties are vehicles to get people there. But even if you look at Senator Natasha's matter, the head of the ethics committee is Labour Party. The Senate president is APC. Don't look at party when it comes to work. As they said before, we have a moral obligation to win.
Yeah.
And let's try and take it seriously. What's the easiest way to find out about the bills that are going through the houses?
Green Chamber, I think they have 100 followers on Instagram, but they do post their bills. And so House of Reps posts the bills, the Green Chamber. I'm not entirely sure with the Senate if they publish it, but the House has tried to be more active with social media. They post on Instagram, they'll post the bill, the member who's working on the bill. And honestly, it will surprise you the people who are getting things done, because the ones that we know oftentimes are just the ones who make noise, and then you have people who are actually doing work. But Green Chamber, Instagram, they have a website and they publish their order paper, I believe. I'm not sure if the Senate publishes their order paper because it's not my primary assignment. But the House of Reps has been trying to be very transparent.
Sure.
And I think they also publish their legislative agenda, including their specifically gender agenda in terms of how they want to move women forward. Because I think the Speaker of the House, Honorable Tajin Abbas, is actually pushing for affirmative action for seats for women in parliament, both National Assembly and State House of Assembly. But even if they pass it, because it's a constitutional amendment, it will have to go back to the states.
Yeah.
And so at every point in that journey, you would have to be active and putting pressure on the person that matters.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This was
Adesuwa,
lovely.
this was lovely.
Thanks for having me.
Great, guys. We'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.
This episode of I Said What I Said was hosted by me, Jolaye, and FK Abudu. Our producer is Debbie Romeo with assistance from Theresa Ajayi. Our social media manager is Najite Anira. Our audio is by the one and only David Kenny. And our camera assistants are Mark Uko, Pascal Ona, and Abolade Uluyede. For Carousel Network, goodbye.